Hello and welcome back to the Sky Bet Football Social, where the Premier League is back. It's an absolutely massive game we're watching tonight. It's Man City versus Arsenal, and I've got an absolutely stellar lineup for you guys today. I'm joined by ex-Man City defender Joleon Lescott. Welcome, Joleon, to the Football Social. How are you feeling about the Premier League returning?
Evening all. Yeah, I'm over the moon, obviously, to see football back on the screens. And I know we've had the Bundesliga, but we spoke earlier, and it's not quite the same. We don't have the same kind of passion and desire to watch the games, even though we enjoy football being back on the screen. But Premier League, yeah, is what we want to see.
Yeah, for sure. The bread and butter, the Premier League is back. And Sam Obaseki, you're joining us in Social Corner. Can you explain your role for us today?
Yes, people. Get your questions into me on either Instagram, Twitter, or on YouTube in the comments, and I'm going to ask them to Jolien or any of the others. Just anything in general, get in touch and we'll get them answered.
Yeah, for sure. We're used to some very good questions, so we're looking forward to the standard being up there today as well. But let's have a look at the table before this big clash. So here's the bottom of the Premier League. Obviously, that draw between Aston Villa and Sheffield United didn't do much for Aston Villa's survival hopes, despite them dominating the game, although they were fortunate in one incident, which I'm sure we'll cover in due course. But let's have a look at the top of the table. So yeah, as we see, Sheffield United will be disappointed not to pick up all 3 points in their push for Europe. But tonight is all about Man City and Arsenal. Currently a 25-point gap to Liverpool. It's absolutely vital that Man City start well here. Arsenal, if they win here, could go up as high as 7th. But let's have a look at the team news. So Man City, it's a pretty familiar lineup, although Guardiola has pulled a few surprises. So it's Garcia partnering Laporte at the back, with Mendy and Walker as the fullbacks rather. De Bruyne, Gundogan and David Silva. Last few games, of course, for David Silva in a Man City shirt. And then Mahrez, Gabby Jesus, No Aguero and Raheem Sterling. Let's have a look at the Arsenal lineup. So it's Leno, Bellerin, and then an experimental centre-back partnership of Mustafi and Mari, joined by Kieran Tierney at left-back. Arsenal fans will be hoping that he can have a strong end to the season after a difficult first campaign following his move from Celtic. Then it's Guendouzi and Xhaka, and then a very experimental front line. So it's Aubameyang, Joe Willock, Saka, and then Eddie Nketiah starting at the Etihad in this must-win game for Arsenal. But Joleon, let's go first to Man City, because it's been quite an inconsistent campaign for them.
Yeah, definitely. It hasn't gone as well as they would have hoped and I would have hoped. But again, recent form before kind of the lockdown won't play a part in tonight's game. I think it's kind of like a break in the season and a new season starting. So I don't think any teams, coaches will be dwelling on previous performances in going into tonight's fixture.
Yeah, it's a fresh slate for all these players, all these managers, of course. It's been over 100 days since we had Premier League action. And Guardiola's pulled a bit of a surprise in your old position of centre-back, Joleon, by starting Eric Garcia. What have you made of Eric Garcia so far? And if you were in his position, would you be slightly nervous?
Yeah, I know Eric. Well, I've seen him play at younger age groups. A very accomplished centre half in regards in possession. Obviously, he would never have faced the likes of an Arsenal team before, even though he has played. But the manager trusts him. He's played him in games before, and he hasn't let him down. So I'm sure he's going to grab this opportunity with two hands. And that's the thing now. Pep and City have the opportunity to give players like Eric Foden more game time to see if they can actually cope with the kind of pressures of playing for the first team without the actual pressure of playing in front of a crowd, because we all know inevitably Liverpool are going to win the title. So it gives him an opportunity to experiment in the league.
Yeah, for sure. No, fresh slate for him. Hopefully he has a good game for his point of view. Oba, you're a massive football fan. I mean, we all are. What have you missed most about football not being on our screens over the last 3 months or so?
I think you literally just said it, just it not being on our screens, and especially the Premier League. I think we weren't allowed to play football. We weren't allowed to watch it. We weren't allowed to do anything regarding the football. And for someone like me that's got 3 sisters, I've not really got anyone that I can play football with at home. So I was just doing kick-ups, trying to stay occupied. But yeah, the Premier League's back, so I'm excited. I'm excited, man.
Yeah, likewise. I've been feeling about 10 feet tall today. Absolutely buzzing for this. Jolien, we've got to briefly touch on the game that happened earlier between Aston Villa and Sheffield United, because there was quite a shocking moment when goal line
Oh,
technology seemingly didn't work. I mean, what did you make of this incident?
it was
Madness.
ridiculous, to be honest. Yeah, goal line technology and VAR didn't kind of step in, but just the basic visualization from the linesman or the assistant referee, surely, surely he has to see that he's on that side. The ball is clearly behind the goal, the line. You can see it past the post. So just that individual error is enough. Never mind the kind of goal line technology and the VAR mistake.
Yeah, it was absolutely clear as day, and it could prove to be a massive sort of 2 points, point gain for Villa in their search to save themselves from the drop. But 2 points lost for Sheffield United as they chase down a European place. They'll be absolutely devastated. Luckily, there's no fans in the Etihad today in terms of the weather. It is absolutely chucking it down at the Etihad. Absolutely
About right.
crazy scenes there. It looks pretty torrential. Jolien, I wanted to ask you, what's it like when you've had a long, long break from football? How long does it take you to get back up to speed physically?
Physically, it takes a few games. You kind of think you're there mentally. You've done everything you can to prepare, and the adrenaline's in your system. But will that adrenaline be there tonight with no fans? That they play a massive part in kind of how you feel and how you prepare for games. But just the fact that we kind of just being back on the grass, it's always nice, the feeling of to actually do that and put your boots on and just, as silly as it sounds, hit the back of the net. That sound, even as a defender, when you hit the ball and it hits the back of the net and it ripples down, that feeling is exceptional. So for the lads to kind of get back out there, I can only imagine it's exciting times.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jolien, I wanted to ask you a Man City question. Obviously, you joined Man City at a very different time to now. What have you made of their sort of development as a club over the last decade or so?
Yeah, remarkable. And a lot of credit goes to the people they've put in place, the owners themselves, directors and chairmen. But they kind of had a vision, and it was spoke about when I joined and when the kind of that summer when we all kind of joined and was assembled. And you kind of believed what they said was going to happen. You just didn't believe it in the time frame. So in the last 10 years to kind of go from what it was to what it is now and be recognised as one of the powerhouses in world football is remarkable achievement for them and everyone that's played a part, whether it be players, staff, everyone's played a part in getting to Man City to where they kind of are now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what a sort of change in the last decade or so. I think you joined in 2009, but yeah, what a remarkable change. But yeah, we see the Arsenal players coming onto the pitch at the Etihad. Obviously, as I said before, absolutely pouring down with rain. There won't be handshakes, but they're taking it in turns to come out of the tunnel these days. But yeah, Aubameyang there we see on our screens. He'll be absolutely vital to Arsenal's hopes if they want to rescue their season from what's been a pretty poor campaign from their points of view. Oba, before we get stuck into the sort of kick-off and what's going on the pitch, have you got a question lined up for us?
Yeah, the first question comes in from at Brian and Zinger, and he says, obviously, I believe, Jolien, you're still working at Man City. So he just says, what does that current role consist of?
At the moment I'm working with the loan players. We have a team in place that has eight members of staff that we kind of monitor and mentor the players that we send out on loan, regardless of what age group they're in. First team, EDS, which is under 23s or academy, 18s and below. Having obviously played football and the experiences they're going to go through, we're just trying to prepare them for a life in football. Whether that be Man City's first team or elsewhere, we just kind of give them the most experience at an early age and exposure, should I say. That is key to kind of having a career, is the exposure early on in your career.
Is that like a new type of role in terms of all the teams, or is that something that solely that City do?
No. There's a high number of teams do it now. A lot more teams do it now. I would say probably 80% of the Premier League have that facility. Probably not to the kind of level that Man City have it and Chelsea. I would say them two teams are pioneers in this area. But a lot more teams are recognising that to get into the first team at your parent club is difficult. Like if you consider the fact that Man City sign players that are probably in the top 3 to 5 best in the world in their position. And we're asking our academy graduates to come out of the academy, having never played first team game, to be that good. It's difficult. So we kind of obviously have to send them out on loan to kind of gain experience.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, we
sense.
need to dive into the players coming through at Man City in due course, but let's have a look at some Sky Bet bets you can have on this game tonight. So these are our price boots from Sky Bet. So Sterling to score first, that seems like quite a good one. Was 4-1, now 6-1. Aubameyang to score at any time, you can get that at 9-4. Jesus to score a brace, he'd absolutely love that, is 9-2. And De Bruyne to score from outside the penalty area, he does love a long ranger, 8-1. Obviously, you have to be 18 plus to bet, and please gamble responsibly. Yeah, we're just seeing Pep Guardiola in the stands there. Jolien, do you think he'll feel slightly disappointed with how this season's gone from a City point of view?
I would imagine so. He's a perfectionist. He's used to winning trophies and used to performing at the very highest level, and which he's done for the last 2 years. But in respect to other titles he's won and other achievements at other clubs, the Premier League is a different beast. So to kind of maintain that level and the bar they have set so far since he's been there was always going to be difficult. And let's not discredit Liverpool. They've played exceptionally well. So in regards to kind of what Pep's done, he's transformed the way Man City's viewed, the way they play, and the way football is played in the Premier League. So in terms of his legacy, he's left an everlasting mark.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, his impact there has been absolutely monumental. We're just seeing the players there having a minute's silence for the victims of coronavirus. And we also saw players very movingly take a knee before the kickoff of the Aston Villa Sheffield United game for Black Lives Matter. Obviously, it's been a difficult time for all these players in lockdown. Jolien, what have you heard from a Man City perspective about what their return to training's been like? Have they found it particularly challenging, the players?
Yeah, I think they have. In regards to preparing as you normally would, it's going to be difficult because it's not the norm. But in respect to what's gone on in the current climate, I don't think anyone's complaining. We have to look at the bigger picture and realise that people have lost their lives. So in the greatest respect to being uncomfortable in regards to preparing for something you do and love to do is not that really of a sacrifice or a hardship. But again, then bringing it a bit more closer to recent times in regards to the Black Lives Matter issue, this is key. I think the likes of Raheem, Marcus Rashford are using their platform to highlight things that have gone on in the past and things that still happen now. So it can only be good for football and the community and society.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've seen these young black athletes just show incredible leadership over the last month or so in all areas, but particularly with Marcus Rashford this week. I mean, Obaseki, how impressed were you by Marcus Rashford's incredible work to get free school meals for children throughout the summer?
I think it's amazing, man. I think he's using his platform in the perfect way. I think it's people underestimate how hard it is, or how people look at that. And sometimes when athletes get involved in politics or political issues, they normally get the image of, oh, you're just an athlete, but he's literally not caring. And for someone that has experienced poverty and has made it to his height, and to look back and say, no, I need to help out, I think he's doing an amazing job, man.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. And, from everyone here at Football Daily and everyone here at Sky, well done to Marcus Rashford. What an incredible achievement. We've kicked off in the game. We're about a minute in now. Jolien, we've seen... nearly a star.
First chance already. Chance already.
Lively. He's offside.
Offside, just. Jolien, I was going to ask, we've obviously got some... We've got some slightly new centre-backs on display here. We've obviously got Eric Garcia and obviously Pablo Mari partnering Mustafi as well. What have you made of... I mean, it'll be difficult for any player to come in at the moment, but particularly as a centre-back, do you think it's particularly difficult with the lack of training you've had, the lack of communication with your partner?
I think it would be. I know both of them players. People might not know that Pablo Mari was on the books at Man City until last season. So he's one player I worked with on loan whilst he was in Holland, which was only 2 seasons ago. So I kind of know him as well as probably Mikel, having watched him and worked with him for 18 months whilst he was on loan for Man City. But yeah, in regards to being difficult, it is for every player when you don't play for a period of time and then to kind of grasp what it is. But for Pablo Mari, I think this is his first Premier League start, so it's difficult. It's going to be difficult, and that could be a penalty there. Yeah.
Oh, it's a free kick.
Oh,
outside the
Is
box.
that who? Oh, is that Mari as well?
Pablo Mari. That's Pablo Mari. And again, this will be something he's new to, having known and worked with him, and the level he was at before, it wasn't this level, and it wasn't Man City Premier League, and you can see that it's a little bit erratic. He's probably overzealous in time to win that ball, and he's got to recognise who he's facing, and that's Raheem Sterling. So you have to be 100 when you're making them challenges.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he'll be a new name to lots of our viewers watching tonight. But having you know him as a man, you know him as a player as well. What are his sort of traits as a player?
Like that kind of highlight there echoes what he's all about. He's very passionate. He's aggressive in his approach to the game. He believes he can win the ball a lot of the time, which doesn't always pay off, as you've seen there. So he will need to kind of find a balance between going to win it and respecting who's in possession.
Oh, good chance from De Bruyne. A fantastic free kick.
Yeah.
I mean, what a start in this game so far. Just tipped over by Bernd Leno. But yeah, De Bruyne has a phenomenal record against Arsenal. I think it was 4 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 meetings with them. And he's just been absolutely phenomenal this season. I mean, Jolien, do you think he's taken his game to new levels this year, De Bruyne?
I don't know. Was that possible? For me, and what separates good from great players, and obviously Kevin De Bruyne is a great player, is the consistency. It's not exactly what he's done. Like, have we seen players do what he's done? I think we have. Have we seen them do what he's doing every week? And I think that's the difference between good and great players. That a lot of players can produce moments of magic, but Kevin De Bruyne just seems to be consistently performing, like David Silva has since his time there, like Sergio Aguero has. But again, it's just the fact that he's now performing it consistently puts him in that kind of top echelon of players.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Oba, would you have him down as your sort of favourite for player of the year? I mean, obviously there's nine games to go, 10 for City, things could change, but favourite for player of the year for you?
Yeah, 100%. I think if we're talking about standout player, then it would have to be Kevin De Bruyne. His assist speaks for himself. I think he's been consistently at the top level as well this season. I don't see any other player really like in that space with him. I've seen some people say Henderson, however, he's not really had like a standout, season.
We're just hearing, we're getting a sound in our ear that Hawkeye have officially apologised to the Premier League for that error during Aston Villa Sheffield United. We were going to get onto it in due course, but it was a Norwood free kick that Nyland ended up taking over his own goal line after a push from the central defender, and it was clear as day that it was over the line. But his Michael Oliver's watch didn't beep, so he gave no goal as he should under that. But Jolien, if you were Chris Wilder now, I mean, what would you be thinking about that news? Hawkeye having to officially apologise.
I think you kind of have to respect them for coming out so soon to do that, but you're still angry. Like, that's the only thing they're there for. Like, it's not like they've got multiple things to be involved in and other things can go wrong. Like, that is the only thing that Hawkeye is there for. So if that isn't checked and made sure to be working before the game, then I don't think it's Hawkeye's fault. I think it's someone else's issue. If it was working, then we credit Hawkeye for coming out so soon. But if that wasn't working before the game, which I kind of got the impression it wasn't active in the first half, then someone else is at fault for that for me.
Yeah, I mean, we are hearing from our producer in our ear that they have said it was working beforehand. But still, for it not to work in that moment at a crucial moment is just unbelievable.
That's the thing. Surely they know if it goes down. So if it's working before the game, then say if in the 6th minute it goes down, there's an activation or something that goes off to highlight the fact this isn't working. They notify the referee and they can pause the game. surely there's a procedure for that if that happens.
But even
Yeah,
at
no,
that,
absolutely.
the fact that there's actually we're kind of forgetting that there's referees,
Yeah,
there's
linesman,
officials on the side as well, and the keeper was literally in the
the
goal,
net.
and you could see on his face that he knew that it got in,
It was
and
comedy.
he
Yeah,
got away
when we
with
laugh
stopping.
about it, it's comedy because like, obviously Keenan Davis actually bumped him into his goal, and he's standing on the line. So if Keenan Davis is standing on the line, and the keeper isn't on the line, the ball must be in the goal. So just common sense should prevail in that situation. Again, I agree with Sam there that the officials have to make that
Too
decision.
over reliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was not a good moment in the first game back for the Premier League with thousands, millions probably watching around the world. That's not what you want for an advert for the Premier League. And it's been a tricky start for Arsenal early in this game as well. We've just seen Granit Xhaka have to go off injured. Danny Ceballos is on. He's struggled to sort of maintain his place in the first team this year at Arsenal with a lot of injury issues. So big moments for him. Of course, each team will be given 5 substitutions each, which makes a big difference. So it's not so disappointing for Arsenal in terms of numbers of substitutions they can make, but big change early on. Ceballos is on for Xhaka. But Jolien, let's quickly go back to this goal line incident. You've been in relegation battles beforehand, and what will something like this for Villa do? Will they be, take this as a point gained, therefore?
Oh, massive! That is a massive boost for Villa. The fact that they didn't lose their game. I know they've got the worst defensive record in the Premier League. So, as a defender, you just want that clean sheet. So to come back and to get that clean sheet will be massive for them. But to come out of that game having known they should have probably lost that game due to that incident, that could only build confidence and kind of you kind of then start to believe that Lady Luck is on your side, and going forward she may be on your side in regards to the running.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely massive moment for Villa. And in the bits that I caught of that game, obviously we're prepping for this show, so I couldn't catch all of it. But Villa actually looked really good, much more solid defensively, with a much better shape
Yeah, they
than before
dominated.
lockdown. So they looked very good, and it has, as Sam says, got far more efforts on goal as well. Oba, what are the questions saying so far? Are they streaming in?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've got quite a few questions, so bear with me. But I'm gonna go back to Brian. He sent in 2 questions, and this one's quite specific to you, Julian, because obviously you
Okay.
as a centre back. It says, do you think teams nowadays are too focused on playing a high line due to the role of the modern day centre back, and have we neglected fundamental skills like defending 1-on-1 at the highest level?
100%. That is probably one of the most articulate questions I've heard since I've started
Yes.
punditry. Like that is the essence of it. Like to the fact that someone is recognizing that is a credit to them, and they have obviously a footballing background.
He's a coach as well, so I guess.
Oh, it makes sense. It makes sense. It kind of that element of defending is none there. Like I know when people recruit, not just Man City, I've spoke to other recruitment people in football, and when they're looking at profiling of players, that is like one of their first things as a defender. It's like can they play out? And I'm like, even to the point of now, that's probably one of the first protocols and profiles for a lot of top team goalkeepers. I'm like, that's the last thing I want to know, if my keeper is good with the ball at his feet. Can he stop shots? Can my defenders tackle? I can develop the confidence to play with the ball, because what people won't understand is that if you're good with the ball, but defensively you're having a bad game, that affects your confidence in possession. So it's irrelevant how good you are on the ball, because it just won't show. Where if I'm good defensively, again, and that is my solid base to work off, I'm then confident enough to get the ball and make simple passes. But your confidence can be deflated instantly if in possession you make a mistake.
Yeah. So how do you think you would fare in like today's game of having to play out from the back consistently?
I wouldn't mind. I enjoyed the ball at my feet. It was a totally different kind of game then. Here we go, Raheem. A ball from Kevin. Oh yeah. But in regards to that, I enjoyed it. We just wasn't asked to do it. I think people may not know that Vincent Kompany said this numerous times in regards to when comparing Pep's team to the kind of team that we had. We was asked to play the way we played, and we was effective in doing that. and obviously Pep's team are asked to play this way, and they're effective in doing that. So, in regards to understanding and the styles, but they were totally different, but they were equally as effective. I did the game for Sky a few weeks ago, just to like reliving the QPR game, and at half time, I didn't know we had 80% possession, which again, if that was now, it would be deemed as like a masterclass. You know what I mean? They had one shot on target, which was a free kick, but things like that wasn't viewed, wasn't like looked on when I was kind of in my prime years. So, but in regards to playing out from the back, every player wants to do that. Every player enjoys to do it. It's just whether the style suits the players the manager has.
So what do you reckon with the way? Sorry, what do you reckon with the way City play now? Do you think that's kind of affected them going forward this season? Do you think teams have kind of clocked them, or do you think they just don't have the same personnel that they did last season? Obviously losing Vincent Kompany, Laporte out injured.
I think that's it. I think that is the major thing. I think that them two players haven't played. Obviously Vinny's gone, so he wasn't going to play. But in regards to Laporte, in regards to the best defender, I would say Virgil van Dijk is currently the best defender. But in regards to the impact that Emirates had at Man City and for Man City, it's similar to Virgil van Dijk's. The impact he's had on that team, the stability he's offered, is vital to them. So if you was to take out Van Dijk at Liverpool and then put their holding midfielder Fabinho, who's equally as good as, say, Fernandinho was in that role at the back, their structure, their confidence in their defence, the keeper's confidence in his back four, the kind of expectation of the team, it's totally different. So the fact that Laporte hasn't played and Vinny hasn't been there, it definitely has an impact in regards to the way Pep's set up. I don't think he's changed too much. I think he's believed what he does works, and he has proven that over the last couple of seasons. But in regards to personnel, you're definitely not going to benefit from losing a Vincent Kompany and a Laporte.
Yeah, two absolutely massive losses who've played a big part in Man City's drop off this season. Jolien, you obviously know Vincent Kompany not just as a player but as a person and as a leader. What are his best sort of personality traits? Why is he such a powerful leader?
It's hard to say one thing or it's everything. Vincent Kompany is on all the time. So how you see him on TV and interview, that's him. That's not when the lights come on, he can turn it on. It's consistently like that, to the point of where we used to like make fun of him being like that when there wasn't a need to. Like we used to go to games and he would be reading a book on master's degree, so we could obviously do that and making highlights, and it had nothing to do with the game, but that's how he focused. So we would all say listen to music to kind of get us in the mood and the zone, where he would do that, and that got him in the mood and the zone. So Vincent Kompany is no different to what you see and what you expect, and that's just a kind of massive credit to him. I don't like people that know him and worked with him. Whatever he does in his life would not surprise you, would not surprise us. So to the point of where if he became the president of the King of Belgium, the president of Congo, where he's nationally from, like seriously, that would not surprise me. Like if he was them things, I'll be like, yeah, that's what I expected him to be.
We definitely need to get a price boost on that. I love that. That'd be amazing. Jolien, I was gonna ask you. So obviously, Man City lost Vincent Kompany last summer, and David Silva is leaving this summer. How big a loss do you think that will be for Guardiola going forward into next year?
I think it'll be a bigger loss for the Premier League than it is because they have Bernardo Silva, they have Phil Foden, and they're not David Silva. And I will never compare anyone to David Silva because that is the king for me, the best footballer I've played with. So in regards to his,
really, I never knew that.
I'll explain that bit after. But in regards to what he's done, that is why I talk about the consistency. Like David Silva arrived 10 years ago off the back of a World Cup, missed pre-season, so had a slowish start in his terms to the season, scored a goal against Blackpool and hasn't looked back since that game. Like and then has consistently performed for 10.5 years. Like that's unheard of. Like I don't think anyone's played any more games than him at Man City since he's been there. That is, and what you've got to kind of recognise is that most of David Silva's time, barring since Pep came, we played 4-4-2, and David Silva played as a winger, and he's never been quick enough to take anyone on. Like he's never been known to kind of be tracking fullbacks, but he made it work. He made playing against him impossible because of his ability in possession, but his movement, his understanding, and what a guy! Not just as a player, what a guy! And it's a shame that he won't get the kind of send off he deserves, but that won't affect him. Knowing him, he probably enjoyed. There's no fans and there's no hoorah about him because he just doesn't want the attention.
Yeah,
ultimate team man.
Oh,
he definitely does strike me as a quiet player. Was he that type of player in the dressing room? Was he the type to shout? I can't really imagine him screaming and shouting after a loss.
David didn't need to shout. There's people that have an aura that command respect, and he was one of them. But remember, he was joining off the back of a World Cup, so there's a different level of respect you hold them people in. Like, and he wasn't just a squad player. He plays for Spain. I think he's the third top goal scorer for Spain, and is there he's cap holder. So he's a big
caps,
deal. Yeah, he's a big deal. You know what I mean? So there's things that come with that, and he never kind of mentioned them things. We just knew David. He's a big deal and respect. But as I said, he came and just kind of integrated himself straight away. He didn't try and shy away from the group or kind of use, even though he does with the media, he doesn't use his lack of English to not kind of get involved. Let me tell you, he speaks perfect English and understands perfect English.
Love that. He's keeping that to himself.
Yeah, I'm just exposing him. I'm just exposing him as he leaves.
Do you think that's something that players do to avoid the English media?
Oh, 100%. Like, not everyone's comfortable speaking to media. Even English players are not comfortable. Like, Paul Scholes did that for his entire career. He didn't want to be that guy. Not everyone finds it comfortable. Even if you look at his social posts, like David Silva just keeps himself to himself, and he's just a genuinely great guy. Like I've been lucky enough to work and play with some of the top players that we all recognise, and they all have this humbleness in them that is so unbelievable. You just wouldn't think people like that have achieved what they've achieved. He's got to score. They've got to do better there. He's got to do better.
It's not a good cutback from Walker. He gets all the way to the byline, cuts it back too far behind anyone. It was a great
run. Put it in the area, didn't he, where someone should be? You know what I mean? It's just not. He's not picked anyone out, has he? Shame. Good move as well.
He beat him with ease. Who was that?
Absolutely.
It's Pablo Mari. I think he's pulled his hamstring.
Oh no!
This level,
another injury.
I mean. This is a different level.
It's all going wrong for Arsenal.
His calf.
I mean, we've seen this a lot in the Bundesliga, Jolien, with a lot of injuries increasing after not playing for so long. I mean, how worried are you about the sort of fitness of players in terms of getting big injuries at this time?
It's going to hinder some because, like, you tend to come back pre-season, have a build-up of games, and get used to playing more minutes, and the quality of the opposition that you face increases. I think these lads have played one game against a team, no disrespect, in the Championship that was local to where they train, so it could have been any level. And now they're asked to be playing against the elite. So your body is going to be under severe pressure and intense scrutiny. That again, especially if you're new to it, even if you're used to it, it's going to be difficult, and we've seen. Yeah. But if you're new to it, it's going to be difficult. But this, like David Luiz, who obviously gets mixed reviews for some of the decisions he makes, I'm overall generally a fan of his. I think if he was able to kind of make better decisions, he would be regarded as a top defender. But he does make erratic decisions at times.
He picks and chooses when he wants to be at that level.
I was about to ask you, but you had him at Chelsea for years. Are you a David Luiz fan?
No, I genuinely love him. I was kind of gutted
Yeah,
when he left, but I kind of understood at the same time why we didn't keep him.
yeah,
Because when he's the type of player that if he wants to play well and play at that level, he can. But if he turns off, he will be the worst defender
yeah,
in
yeah.
that back
You
line.
might concede, and you'll know. I mean, like you'll know. You would have seen games against City. He tends to always switch it on against Sergio.
Yeah,
He never used to switch
yes,
it
yeah,
off against Sergio. Like
yeah,
he would,
yeah,
it would
yeah. He
always
loves playing
be
against him.
on it. Yeah, yeah. They would always, obviously, the South American, Argentina, Brazil thing must be going on as well. So they kind of always used to go back and forth. But in regards to him paying attention, that was never in question against City when I played there. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Jolien, I wanted to ask you what we've talked about David Silva, but you joined before Silva. I mean, how was it? What was it like watching your Silvas, your Agueros come into a dressing room like Man City? Did you suddenly see the sort of level in training just instantly rise?
Yeah. That's the thing, and I'll go back to that point I made earlier. David Silva, in regards to footballer, the best footballer I played with, and by that I mean like consistency, just like technical brilliance and appeal to watch. But in terms of best player, was Yaya
Really?
Toure.
I'm
Yeah, the
not
best
shocked you
player I
saying that,
played with. Like if Yaya Toure played well, we won the game. There was no drawing, no losing. It was just he made you win, and players, only a certain amount of players have that ability. Like David Silva could be unreal, get 2 assists, but we could lose 3-2. That wouldn't happen with Yaya Toure. If Yaya Toure scored or created 2 goals, he was then had capability to kind of prevent us from conceding, which David Silva probably doesn't have. But so that's why I would give the best player to a Yaya Toure. But footballer, them two, and Sergio and Carlos Tevez, like there
To
was a
have that
lot
as
of
your
talent.
core is
Yeah,
crazy. To have
and
that as your
obviously then it
midfield
was
is
Vincent, and then but again, what people won't recognise is Gareth Barry. Like when we was there was Nigel de Jong, exceptional, Samia Nasri, James Milner, Yaya, David Silva, and
ballers.
all of them players
That's not even
said
fair.
if they could pick one player to play alongside, it would be Gareth Barry.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, to play
That's
alongside, if any of
interesting.
them wanted to play one, because he would change, he could adapt his game and would be willing to do that. Like others could do that. Yaya could probably adapt his game to combat what David Silva does or whatever. But would he want to do that? Not necessarily. Yaya Toure had the capability to be a match winner, so he didn't tend to do that, where Gareth Barry was able to just go, okay, today I'm playing with him, so it needs to be this performance. Today I'm playing with him, it needs to be that performance. And he was willing to do that, and this didn't cause any kind of issues or qualms about doing so.
How
That's
was it in
fascinating.
that dressing room, though? Sorry, Doogie.
No, go
No,
for
it's
it.
unreal. Unreal.
No,
It's
how was it
unreal.
in
Like,
that dressing room, like having that amount of players and that many egos, and
there
having
wasn't
to say,
egos
okay,
though. There
cool,
wasn't egos. It was just like a
okay,
belief. Like, obviously, we respected everyone coming in for what they'd done. So, Carlos Tevez had come from United. So, to him to come to City at that time, we held him in the highest regard because he'd achieved what we'd all hoped we could achieve, titles and Champions
yeah,
Leagues, and at that level. And that was the ambition of ours. And then he kind of, at that time, so-called make a step down in terms of where the team was, not the club now, obviously. But so we kind of held him in a high regard. Hence why when he left for a little spell and came back, we all embraced him. Then we signed David Silva, who was a World Cup winner, missed pre-season, but again, we kind of let him come up to speed as went at his own pace due to him having World Cup titles and obviously European titles. And then we signed
yeah,
Yaya Toure from Barcelona, who the only probably thing that we assumed from Yaya, which probably I think the whole Premier League assumed, is that he was a holding midfielder. We didn't know
yeah,
that he was going to come and do that. I didn't know
yeah,
he could do that because I think Pep had needed him to do that, which you don't probably need him to do that in Barcelona. But when he came, and then we're playing him holding midfielder, and then all of a sudden, like 2/3 through the season, Mancini said, "Go and play as a number 10," and we're like, "Huh?" And then he just kind of just light it up, and we was like, "Okay,
Yeah,
That's
no, he was on a
you can
madness.
do
He
that.
was on a madness.
Yeah,
And then he was off, and he just never looked back. I was going to
Yeah.
just briefly bring it back to the game. We haven't talked that much about it because it's been a slightly slow start to this game.
Yeah.
Man City definitely on top. De Bruyne has probably been the best player on the pitch so far. Obviously had a free kick save, Walker with a cutback. But Arsenal, the big news for them, Jacques has gone off for Ceballos, and Mari, on just his second Premier League start, has had to go off for David Luiz as well. So not an ideal start for Mikel Arteta. Jolyon, I wanted to ask you, you're obviously an ex-teammate of Mikel Arteta. Did you ever think that he was going to go into management?
No, honestly not. I didn't know this was his kind of preferred pathway after we kind of retired. Is he surprising me into where he's got so soon? Yes. Is he surprising me in what he's able to do and his knowledge? No, because Mikel was very astute in his football IQ and his knowledge of the game. That was never in question. And to kind of give you an example of that, when I first went to Everton and I was playing left back, Mikel was the left winger. And we kind of had a great understanding without really speaking about it. We just kind of knew what we each other preferred and how he wanted me to be as a fullback and how I wanted him to be as a winger. And then he literally went to play centre midfield later on in my career. And it was like he played there forever. And I know he'd played there for previous teams, but the kind of adaptation he showed was like, yeah, now I had a different level of respect because he didn't just play the holding midfielder role as you would assume it to be, like a Busquets kind of just getting in possession and just starting up play. He was literally breaking up play, putting his body on the line, and I was like, okay, so now you have that string to your bow. So I kind of had a new level of respect.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a very good, pretty good start to his life as Arsenal manager. I think it's only one defeat in 11 league games, and they're one of two teams in English football, along with Coventry, who haven't lost a league game in 2020. But obviously had to pick up a lot of pieces after the sort of Emery era didn't end on the best of fashions. Oba, what have you sort of made of Mikel Arteta's start? And if you were Mikel Arteta, where would you be looking to strengthen this summer?
I think they've got quite a few areas to strengthen, and also they've got quite a few question marks over their star men. Aubameyang doesn't really know. He's kept that quite open. He doesn't know whether he's going to stay at Arsenal. Lacazette doesn't know whether he's going to stay at Arsenal. Ozil's not even in the squad today, and he was one of their biggest signings a few years back. So they've got to sort out their front line and also their back four. I think the signings that they made previously, signing David Luiz, I know it was a quick fix, but at the same time, it kind of exposed that they have more problems than just centre back. So
it's not a long-term solution, is it? David Luiz is not the long-term solution to them. I've seen them linked with Upamecano. He's massive.
He would be amazing. He'd be amazing for them. But
he's a top player.
They've got a few areas to fill in, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do that without letting go of their stars and their captain. So if I was Arteta, I would be worried.
Yeah, I think it's worrying because of that thing there. Like, even if you secure Aubameyang to a long-term contract, is it going to be like, how he's 30? So is he going to be able to perform at that level for the next 4 years, which is probably what he's looking for, 3-4 years? So it's worrying for them due to them not having probably the left back, Tierney. Again, they probably don't need a left back. Yeah, they don't need one of them. And obviously they've got Saka that proved he can play there, but naturally he's a winger, hence him playing right wing today. But
even him, he hasn't signed a new contract as well, so there's doubts over him as well. He's kind of realizing his worth as well. So
yeah,
I think he's gonna have to have a lot of conversations with players this summer.
Yeah, it's like convincing, and I think they will be encouraged by what the effect Mikel Arteta has had, because he has shown improvement. Arsenal are a better looking team now. They don't look as open or disorganized as they had done previously. But in regards to what players, oh wow, that looks like a foul to me. That looked like a
That was
clear foul.
definitely a foul.
Yeah, definitely.
Surprising
I see it
that
was
he didn't give
holding
that.
his arms.
Yeah,
Shocking.
headlock. But yeah, in regards to what Arsenal are like at the start of the season or last season, they're definitely improved. But it's whether you can convince players to wait for the 2 or 3 years it's going to take for them to be title contenders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
guys, I've got some big news. Got a halftime treat for all our viewers. Chris Hamill was supposed to start the stream. I had some technical issues, but he joins us.
Come
now.
on! He's made it. He's
Yeah.
made it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
He's arrived.
What is going on here? I look like I'm being abducted.
Hey, you
Maybe the
look like
light's a
you're
bit
not.
strong.
He's
Madness.
yeah.
Gentlemen,
Yes,
how
I
are
will.
we? Sorry for turning up half an hour late. Thank you very much, Doogie, for handling business, mate.
No worries.
I normally only
You
turn
got a
up
lot
for
to
the
live up
intro
to.
anyway.
You got a lot to live up to now.
Yeah, exactly. I think you should continue to lead the show. To be honest, mate, you've seized the moment. I'm old news now.
Oh, Chris, well, we'll give you a couple of minutes to recover because I know, I'm pretty useless with technology myself. It can be pretty stressful, so we'll give you a couple of breathing points there. Julian, I wanted to know from you. I mean, we were talking about Arsenal's sort of stars. If you were in Aubameyang's position, good save there from Sterling, from Leno there, down to his left. If you were in Aubameyang's position, would you be looking to move this summer?
It's hard to say. Again, you'd have to weigh up the options and what he's viewed. As I said, he will know that his prime years are probably the next 2 to 3 years. So then you have to weigh up the realistic goals of Arsenal to yours and the time frame of that. That was kind of my decision based on leaving Everton. I kind of weighed up how likely of Everton to achieve what I wanted to achieve in the years I had left playing. And it proved to be the right decision for me. I'm not saying that is going to be the right decision for Aubameyang to leave Arsenal, but only he will know and say, well, they've got 3 or 4 years left. Are Arsenal going to be title contenders or Champions League contenders in the next 3 to 4 years?
Yeah, I wanted to know from you actually, because, similarly to Aubameyang, you were absolutely adored by Everton fans. I mean, you were player of the season there, I think, quite a few times. How difficult was that for you personally to leave?
What a save, Leno.
Leno has just kept Arsenal in it twice in a matter of minutes here.
Nice.
Phenomenal save. Jolien, there might well be a goal to interrupt us in a second. Man City very much on top. But how difficult was it for you personally to leave Everton?
It was difficult to make the decision to leave them because obviously I had fun memories of fun relationships, good relationships with the fans, with the players. So the initial decision was probably the hardest. Once I've made that, it wasn't hard to kind of make sure it kind of happened. Because, as like I've said, the ambition of Man City and the time frame of that mirrored mine, where Everton wasn't in a position to do that, even though at that time consistently Everton were finishing higher than City. And I think if Everton showed more desire to kind of break into the top 4, then the decision probably would have been harder to make. But kind of once I made that, it proved to be right, and I don't regret it one bit.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't after all the success you had at Man City. A fantastic spell at both clubs. We've seen Man City really step it up in the last 5 minutes. I mean, what would you put that down to? Is anyone in particular getting on the ball?
I think they've just got into it a bit more. I think the first 20 minutes they were kind of just feeling for the ball, getting a few touches in, but now they're looking like they've been playing for weeks at this level. Everyone looks comfortable with the
graphic
ball.
there shows 3%. Yeah,
that is crazy. 3% in their area, 38% in Arsenal's area. It just shows that Arsenal have been on the back foot for the majority of this game.
Lads,
a goal is.
I feel like
goal is definitely coming.
I feel like the new kid at school that's trying to make friends.
We can bring you in.
Jolien, mate.
That's what happens when you're late, though. You know what I mean?
I've made a terrible first impression.
Nah.
I don't know what's going on in the game, and I'm just listening.
Go on.
What a ball!
Great save again. Then I was on for man of the match here. 3 great saves.
Yeah, he's played fantastically. Chris,
Good
let's
keeper,
get you
though.
into
Good
the
keeper.
let's get you into the game. Bernd Leno had his detractors last year in his debut campaign, but have you been impressed with him this year?
I've been impressed with him since he had a shaky period in his first 10, 15 games after replacing Petr Cech, and I think he'd had a couple of underwhelming seasons at Leverkusen, despite clearly having ability. But no, I think he's been one of their key players for the last 15 months, and I think his save percentage has consistently been in the top 3-4 goalkeepers in the Premier League. Because Arsenal have been porous, haven't they? I mean, Arteta shored them up a bit, but apart from that, they've still been porous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's key, buddy. How's this game mapped out so far? Just Manchester City having the majority of possession.
Yeah, total dominance. Total dominance.
Go on, break it
it's
down for me.
It's been progressively getting better. Like City started after both of the teams were scrappy, and you'll see that Kevin De Bruyne's given the ball away a couple of times, which is unlike him. But as it's gone on, City have just found their rhythm.
Yeah, last 10 minutes or so, there's been quite a few good saves from Leno. I think it's about 3 that he's made in his area, which has kept Arsenal in it. And it's a big game for Arsenal. Their season, it could potentially just sort of peter out into a pretty mediocre one. Arteta has seen a bit of improvement. Oh, here we go.
Ball, finish. What's he doing?
Wrong decision. What's he doing? It's the wrong decision.
Sterling.
Just bang it.
Sterling, I don't know why. That's Russ. I have to put that down to Russ.
Yeah.
De Bruyne played a beautiful ball, slotting Sterling in. He was 1-on-1 and he dinked it over the bar like 6 yards out. That was the wrong choice. The wrong choice.
You see that there? He's not
had
even
to work
looked
on
to
his
see
finishing
where the
for 3
keeper
months.
is. So he's just assumed the keeper's coming out and gone to ground. Where if he had a look, he would have realised. But who am I to
That was a
kind of
ball by De
critique
Bruyne. That
Raheem
was a ball
Sterling?
from De Bruyne as well.
Yeah.
Who's looked like they're back at the races from a City point of view then?
I think De Bruyne, as usual. I mean, Sterling's had the last few
I
opportunities.
don't know.
as
You
well.
say that. If you say that, he's give the ball away.
He's giving the ball away back.
The best chance that Arsenal had come from De Bruyne just giving it away.
Because he was absolutely unreal before the break, wasn't he? I think
Yeah.
it was 6 goal contributions in 7 games, and he looked like he meant business, and that gap's obviously done him no favours.
Yeah.
But
He
back
hasn't
him
been
to
poor. Let's not say that he hasn't been poor, but he's just
fair.
with the high expectations we've come to used to seeing. He probably just isn't there yet, but he still has moments where he just creates chances out of nothing.
Yeah.
Jolie, do you know what the saddest thing about all this is?
What's that?
The saddest thing about all this is, mate, I've got literally 30, 40 questions in front of me that I've been researching, all of today, and I bet half of them have been asked already.
You can say that now because you're late, but we don't believe it. We don't believe you've got them.
I can see you disappointed in me already. Already, I'm on the back foot, man.
We're lucky we
Not to detract from the game, but I tried 3 or 4 different connections. At one point, I was sitting here with my Xbox headset on.
Whatever.
And I looked like I'd fully lost.
We don't
the
believe
plot.
it. What Xbox? We'll be promoting that now. We just thrown that in there, yeah.
Other consoles are
Free
available.
advertising. Free advertising there, and a little water plug as well. Jesus Christ! What else is he doing? What else is he getting paid
you're
for?
doing so much right now.
He's doing the
Little
most.
ring plug as well.
Going on.
Oh, here we go. NFL ring there as well. Come like Thanos.
Super Bowl, baby. Oh,
I've got a few more questions coming in.
Yeah,
I've
please
got a
take
few
over.
more questions coming in. All right, cool. This one's from Zach Armstead, and it's for Jordan. He says, "What was it like playing against City for the first time after leaving the club?"
It was difficult, mate, because I was at West Brom and we weren't at the same level that City were, so it was very difficult. But no, in regards to kind of emotional, which I'm guessing he means, yeah, it was hard. I got a lot of friends there, had a lot of friends there at the time, but not just players, staff as well. So kind of seeing them and doing that whole thing was difficult. I can't remember what it was. I think, was it at home? It might have been at home. So just trying to pass on knowledge to teammates at West Brom in order to kind of help us best cope with the City kind of play and philosophy was difficult, but it was hard. It's hard playing against, when you've been at a club for over 12 months, you kind of obviously create bonds and friendships, and then to kind of face them up. Yeah, you don't dwell on them whilst you're playing, but in the build-up and after the game,
go a
you
bit
definitely
harder.
kind of Yeah, it's just difficult, isn't it? As I said, if you come across someone that you'd kind of worked with for 5 years, and we were a close knit group due to the circumstances that we were kind of created. So it was tough, but it was fun.
I can imagine the first challenge in on Aguero, just sliding 2-footed challenge.
Nah. You got to know, as I said before, you got to recognise and respect who you're facing. You don't dive in on people like Aguero because you get left behind. So you just got to try and block a shot, be in the way of a shot.
Yeah.
And if it goes in, it's all credit to Aguero. And if it doesn't, then you've done your job. But diving in is not something you tend to do against them players because they recognise that early.
Yeah, I mean, you'll just be left on your arse by Aguero with ease. We've got about 3 minutes left in the first half here. It hasn't been absolutely electric, but Man City have definitely been on top. I think they've got 4 of their 7 shots on target. Arsenal are yet to properly test Ederson so far.
That's a foul.
Oh, bodied. Nah, he got bodied. I'm not going to lie.
What, in the back?
That was shoulder to shoulder.
Jolien, I wanted to ask you, of all the coaches you worked under, who do you think managed to get the best out of you consistently?
Ooh, I've never been asked that question. I've just been asked who's the best coach. I don't know, It varies for different reasons. Different reasons, like my time at Everton was good, but did I learn the most under David Moyes? Probably not. You know what I mean? But I kind of had different motivations and aspirations of performing and getting into the England squad. So my level of performance was geared and motivated by that, where the best coach I ever worked with was Glenn Hoddle at Wolves, and the kind of knowledge he gave to me and understanding of the game was like no other. And I was young at that time, but in regards to what I was able to pick up and how I viewed the game was totally new.
Jolien,
I
was listening to a podcast with Lee Naylor on it, obviously former teammate of yours at Wolves, and he also said Glenn Hoddle was the best coach that he played under, and he said that he was just so forward thinking. But what does that constitute? So for us that don't know what forward thinking means in that regard, so like what made him so ahead of his time?
I don't know. I just like, even when I hear him commentate now on games, the way he speaks and explains things, it seems so simple and makes it sound. And that's what it was. Like, he would explain something to me or say something and wouldn't have to explain it because I got it. So that was my ability to understand, but I hadn't thought about it yet. So he would come up with a concept and I'll be like, that makes so much sense now. Like, for instance, I was trying to develop leadership skills. So, and he's the only manager I've ever seen do this, coach ever seen do this. And everyone I've ever told about it has never heard of it. So we had Paul Ince, Dennis Irwin. We had like high professional players, big personalities. And I was trying to develop, they wanted me to develop leadership skills and communication skills. So he used to put on sessions and ban everyone from talking. And I was the only one allowed to talk for like 2 or 3 minutes. So I would get used
intense.
To coaching the team.
Intense.
So and it is, and I'm 20, I'm 19, 20. So to actually do that and kind of have to do that to players that have captain England, like Paul Ince was my hero. I wanted to be Paul Ince growing up, you know what I mean? So then to kind of have the kind of pressure of making sure, not just the one I'm just talking, here we go, Raheem. Yes!
Oh! Brilliant finish.
We're back, baby.
Oh, I should have put him in my fantasy. Gosh.
What a guy.
I think he's in mine. Here we go. Was it David Luiz? Again, at fault. Hopefully not. I don't wish bad on
They always show David Luiz when Arsenal.
I don't want to wish bad on
David Luiz. It's deep.
Who was the ball by?
Cool ball by.
Okay, so it's Kevin De Bruyne on the right. And it's a beautiful ball. David Luiz made
Is it a beautiful ball? It's a ball in a dangerous area, but for David, he's got to control that. He's got to.
Oh, that's so poor. That's so poor.
Confident finish.
That is so poor. I guess the rain doesn't help as well. It skipped up off the grass.
Yeah.
Degrees on his
Let's be
knee, and
compassionate
then
to what that is. But if you see the difference between that goal and the chance he had, even before he's in possession, he has a little look to see and make himself aware, and he doesn't choose the wrong option there. He just bangs it through the keeper and into the
that's
net.
deserved. That's deserved though. That's deserved for City.
Is
To
it
be honest.
Luiz's body shape
But the
there,
game's gone.
Jolien, that's the problem?
Not his body shape, his body position. If he was like half a foot to his left, that hits him in the belly and doesn't react and rebound off him. But the fact that he's not in the line of the pass and it's hit him in the thigh, it allows it to spin that way. So there are little things that, you think you're in the right position, but when you're facing Kevin De Bruyne, you tend to want to be in the line of the ball and overcompensate really as well, because he has the ability to pick anyone out.
I mean,
you were talking about Paul Ince before. Well, sorry, Doogie, mate.
No,
delay. Yeah. I was just saying,
he's coming in now, Doogie. He's just taking control, isn't he? He's just coming in and just taking control.
Doogie, don't have it. Doogie, don't have it.
Just comes to me so naturally.
I'm gonna fight with my webcam.
I want to know what it's like having a guy like Paul Ince around the training ground, someone that's been there and done it.
Unreal for me at that stage of my career. Again, it's different coming as you break into the team that's your parent club. It's different. The feel's different. Obviously, there's not expectation, but the fans have more kind of resilience to you and prone if you are learning your trade and make errors. So I didn't feel away in any of the teams that I played with at Wolves. And to get someone like Paul Ince was huge, and he was able to push me exactly where I needed to be pushed. Like, he made me do things that no one had ever asked of me. Everyone could see I had potential to go on, but Paul Ince didn't just see that. He said, there's a level, so you need to work harder at the things you're not good at and push that and force that. So at that stage of my career, it just installed a mentality of, we need to improve, and I need to improve, and he pushed that and drove that.
There we have fascinating insight from Jolien Lescott, and it's half-time at the Etihad. Man City 1, Arsenal 0, with that Raheem Sterling goal from a De Bruyne assist, his 17th of the season, proving the difference at the break. They're now 22 points behind Liverpool. At the end of this, they'll of course be level on games played, I should say, rather. Jolien, De Bruyne is now 3 behind the Premier League assist record as it stands. Are you confident he'll be able to break that?
In this game? Probably. No, yeah. If he does that, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised if he breaks that record. Like, and if he doesn't do it this season, potentially the next season. Like, the quality that Man City have in regards to scoring goals and the kind of persistence way they play and penetrate. That Kevin De Bruyne breaking that record is. I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anyone when he does that. It's just a case of when and what game that's going to be. And if he can't get 3 more assists in the next, 7-8 games, I think that does himself a disservice.
Yeah, no, you'd certainly back him to be able to do it. Obra, it's half time now. And if you're joining us for the first time, remember to subscribe to Football Daily and Soccer AM. Obra, what are the questions saying?
Cool. We're gonna do like a quick fire question round, because there's been quite a few questions that I haven't answered. So I know a few of these answers just because I've watched interviews. I watched interviews of you, Jolly, and I was stalking you a little bit. So
Here we go.
the first question is from Vikram, and he says, "What was with the picture of his car after one of Villa's damning losses?"
That again, that can't be a quick answer, so I'm gonna have to take a little bit of time on that. That wasn't my car. Someone asked me, someone that hadn't passed their test at the time, asked me if this was a good car to get. And at the time, obviously, WhatsApp sent, and literally my WhatsApp messages, if people sent WhatsApp messages, they save to my phone, which they don't do now. And literally I was driving home and that obviously went off in my pocket. And I was then notified by family members and friends that had gone off, and I couldn't do anything about it whilst driving. So I left it, and by the time I got home, it blew up so much. I was like, I might as well just
it's too late.
Take the brunt of it now and just leave it. And I've never took it down, never will take it down. And it's funny because at the time I didn't even have that car.
I rate that. Fair. I rate you for not taking it down. I rate you for not taking it
Yeah.
down. Next question is from Free Shred, and he said, "Who is the toughest defender you played against?"
Toughest defender.
Yeah, don't know why he said
Toughest
defender,
defender.
but fair enough.
Toughest defender I've played against. That's a tough one. That because I'm only judging it off like corners and stuff.
Okay, if that's tough, then let's go strikers because that's a bit of a weird question. To be fair.
Strikers. Oh, okay, yeah, strikers. Louis Saha.
Really?
Yeah. When I tell you, he made me change my game. I played against Louis Saha at Wolves, and they at Fulham when Fulham like walked the Championship. They were top. We were like mid-table. They had averaged 2 goals a game. We played them. We drew 0-0, and I got man of the match, and obviously I had a good game. We played them 3 weeks later in the cup, and I'm assuming the game's going to be the same. Not as easy because it wasn't easy, but I'm assuming it's going to be the same, and he is assuming it wasn't going to be the same, or knowing it wasn't going to be the same. So what he did to me in that game, him and Boa Morte, made me know there is another level of athleticism, of professionalism to kind of go and achieve.
Who would have thought it? Louis Zaha as Lescott's most feared striker. Love it. We've got a feature for you up next with Raheem Sterling.
Hi, Raheem, you okay?
Is that Boring Gary?
You can't call me Boring Gary. Actually, I'm quite happy if that's my nickname out of being 4 years with you in England. I thought it'd be worse than that.
No, I'm joking. You know what I do.
Exciting time. We're on the brink of football restarting with a big game, Manchester City versus Arsenal. But I want to start with racism and what's been going on in the last few weeks. Can you just give me an overview of your current thoughts, emotions and feelings?
At this moment in time, I just feel, everyone, as I feel like I'm speaking for most, black people, I just feel everyone is tired. A lot of people have been screaming for help in different areas of life, society. And I think with the protesting that's going on, that you see what happened in America now transferring to the UK, a lot of people have been in silence and is using this opportunity as a moment to, be one and trying to get not just answers, but changing society, and people like myself that has a platform to try and get this message, into the right places and have these conversations that can spark change. I'm not someone with the most ideas in the world or know exactly what to do, but, we just have to kind of highlight these things that people are facing on everyday aspects of their life. And that's what I'm trying to, replicate and do.
You mentioned earlier that black people have been screaming for help, and I want to take you back to Euro 2016. Do you remember asking for a one-on-one meeting with myself?
Yeah, for sure. As I said, the reason why I did ask you that day was because you're someone I truly did respect, and someone that I have looked up to, for a long time. As everyone knows, I was a Manchester United fan growing up. So, that's one of the reasons why I did ask to speak to you.
Are you willing to share with the fans that are obviously listening to this interview what you actually said to me that day? I
felt like I was being kind of targeted I can't remember the exact words, but I just felt like I was under pressure and being targeted for no exact reason. I couldn't find the reason. And I just wanted to, kind of have advice on that aspect, what to do. And as I said, you did give me great advice on the day.
You came to see me and you did talk to me about the abuse and the discrimination that you felt that you were feeling and that you were being targeted. And when I look back upon that meeting now, and I think that of the words that I sort of returned to you, I feel like I let you down. I feel like my primary thought was talking about, how other players had suffered abuse, whether it be Paul Gascoigne, or whether it be David Beckham, or whether it be Wayne Rooney. And I now recognise that I feel that was totally inappropriate. Those players were receiving abuse for football errors or football performances. You were receiving targeted abuse that was constant before the tournament, before a ball had been even kicked. And I do feel like in that moment that the response that I gave you was inadequate. And I feel sorry for that. But it does beg the question, where do young black players that feel the same way go to in football for that help?
And that's exactly the question that I've been asking. Is, for example, I came to you out of respect, and but at the same time, you kind of don't have the feeling and understanding of what it is like. As I said to you, at the same time, when I was 21, I think was my second tournament, so I didn't quite understand myself even what was going on. It's only until I went to the World Cup again, and I had the same thing about my tattoo, which is a tattoo that I've had a year previous to this. So I had that tattoo done in September. I've played a whole season of football. I've had training sessions where the tattoo has been revealed, and they wait until pretty much 3-4 weeks before we kick a ball for the biggest tournament in the country, for our country. I kind of understood at this moment in time that it's not about my tattoo, or it's not about what they're making it out to be. It's much bigger than this, and this is at that moment. This is where I actually took it upon myself to not kind of say to myself I'm being targeted, but that there is a bit of a discrimination going on here, because there's no way I can have a tattoo for a full 9 to 10 months, and this tattoo now all of a sudden is the biggest deal in the world.
In terms of Manchester City's season, Raheem, obviously you've fallen behind Liverpool this season, having had 2 unbelievable seasons. How big an influence on and off the pitch, and how big a miss do you think Vincent Kompany has been?
Yeah, Vinny's someone I still speak to quite a lot, and honestly, he is possibly one of the best persons or people you can have in the dressing room. He brings energy. He lifts everyone. The mood, for example, if we had a bad game last week, the next game following up, he's the first person that's going to raise everyone's spirits. He's the first person that's going to make sure everybody's on their job. And for someone that's been at this football club so long, he understands exactly what this football club stands for, and he's a winner. He's someone that wants to win. He puts 150% every single day, and that's no word of a lie. Even if he can't, he will tell you he can. So yeah, he's definitely been a massive miss.
What have been Pep's messages to you personally, but also to the team, in terms of how this season's gone and what you're going to do once you restart?
I think the message, since we have got back, it has been to find something within ourselves. It's going to be difficult to play in empty stadiums, and we've got to find something within ourselves to be a winner, to keep fighting. We've got to find that adrenaline from somewhere, and it's got to come from deep within. And we've spoken about the playing in the garden. When you're 10. And there was no fans there, and you wanted to win every single game with your friends, and it's no different at this moment in time. We've been doing this since we're kids, so I think that's been the message from day one since we've been back. To
finish with, from Mr. Boring, can you just give us an inkling to how excited you are that the football is returning?
Just happy to be away from the house at this moment in time, to be honest with you. So yeah, now. Really looking forward to, finally being on the grass, getting kicked left, right and centre, and hopefully putting the ball in the back of the net.
Good stuff. Thanks, Raheem, and all the best tomorrow night and with the season.
Thank you, Mr. Boring himself. Cheers.
There we have it. Raheem Sterling taking the mickey out of Gary Neville repeatedly there. Jolien, he obviously made some very important points about the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, you've played for England, you've been in the spotlight yourself. Do you think there's an issue with how black players are treated compared to white players?
Yeah, I think there's an obvious kind of discrimination there. If you go back in the history, look at who for me is probably the most consistent player in the time I've played for England and in recent years is Ashley Cole. But the way he's portrayed and viewed is ridiculous. And it's all to do with potential off-the-field incidences, because it's never to do with his performances, because he has performed as well as any England player over the tenure he was involved. And I think Raheem deserves the most credit for kind of bringing that to attention. I can give you another example. If we look at the way we see Daniel Sturridge is portrayed to a Jack Wilshere. Daniel Sturridge is perceived to kind of not want to put his body on the line, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. But Jack Wilshere's been unlucky. He's been unlucky with injuries, but we don't see that as the same context for Daniel Sturridge. So in terms of that, it definitely goes on. It's definitely happened. Will it continue to happen? I hope not. And for me, this whole movement is so important because it's not just to represent black players, black people. It's to represent all people of colour. It's to represent every kind of aspect of racism, not just hate crime, also the systematic racism which goes on in the game, which people may not view as a thing. But if it wasn't a thing, then would we need the Rooney Rule? Would the Premier League introduce that rule if there wasn't racism in the system? So there obviously is a problem. But also players at lower leagues, teams as well, they need to be able to kind of feel confident and comfortable coming out saying, I'm being targeted for whatever reason that is, and feel that there's a level of support. So as a Premier League, as a movement, which I'm something part of the new kind of Premier League advisory board for racism, that we need to do more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's disappointing that not enough was done, in the years between 2016 and 2020 when the movements first started. Jolien, do you feel like this time it could really be a defining moment of change in the Black Lives Matter movement?
I hope so. It's easy to say that, but I think we've said that every time and nothing has really changed. I think the attention is bigger now. I think the platforms used are different, so hence why it feels probably like there's going to be more movement in it. But until there's actual change, we can't say. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I feel this is the time. I hope it is the time. I hope it is the scenario that creates change. But if we're not talking about it or seeing actual change in the next four months, then we know that people are just talking about it because they have to, not because they want to. But the biggest thing for me at this moment is that we've recognised now it's not good not to be racist, but it's also anti-racism we're trying to fight. And what people don't recognise is you're not only racist if you say the M-word or something like that, or target a vicious hate crime. There's also other themes of racism and unconscious racism. Like I've say to friends and people I know of white backgrounds, yeah, you might not say the M-word, but how comfortable are you knowing your daughter might come home with a black boyfriend? And then that just shuts people up. And if you're having to think about that, then it's in there, whether you like it or not. So they're the things we need to challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Sam, I was going to ask you, you've obviously grown up a football fanatic. How difficult has it been for you watching, black footballers be treated effectively differently for the last, however many years?
I think it's just wrong, and it's kind of off-putting for black players that are growing up like idolizing people like Sterling, people like Sturridge, people like Walker, all the black players, and seeing that the way they're treated by not only fans but also the media is so different. And I think that people need to realize that with this movement, the main thing that people are asking for is just to be treated the same, not better, just be treated the same in every aspect. And once that happens, that's when we can start saying, okay, cool, now there's actually change happening. I think we just need to keep on, make sure that the conversation continues. And that's the only way that real change can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a conversation we could spend the whole second half talking about, because everyone needs as much education on it as possible. But the second half has kicked off at the Etihad. Man City obviously 1-0 up. Chris, are you back? You're still with us, technically wise?
Yeah, dropped out a really bad time there, but could hear the whole of Jolien's eloquent answer. So that was great. But I think the technology has spoken, mate. I think it wants you in charge for the rest of the show. Clearly, I can't be trusted.
Okay, I mean, it might be.
So,
I agree with that.
Just all hail Doogie for the rest of the show. But no, Jolien and Sam, fascinating listening to your insight there.
Yeah, for sure. Jolien, on a football note, if you were Mikel Arteta, what would you look to do to counteract this City team?
I don't think they necessarily have the options. they have some of the players. Like I think if the chance they get, because they're not like creating too many chances, with the chance they get falls to Aubameyang, then they have an opportunity to score a goal. Where if that doesn't, like Nikita might freeze in the opportunity, the one chance he gets. You know what I mean? Because you've got to understand that players like him that have played in the Arsenal academy that have probably been used to dominating possession, playing in for Leeds that were dominating teams. He's probably used to having 3 or 4 chances a game and then kind of manufacturing one of them, where this might be a half chance. You might only get one half chance in the whole 90 minutes. And are you prepared for that? Yeah. Do you know what that looks like? So for me, I'm not saying he has to come off now, but I would look to bring Lacazette on at the earliest. Oh, great turn. Great touch. He's a pen. Give a pen.
Oh, it's a penalty.
Oh, my God.
Oh, David Luiz having a mare.
It's a definite pen.
Here we go. Jolien, talk us through what happened.
Wow, I think David Luiz just anticipated that Mahrez wasn't going to be able to take that in his stride, which he did. I think he controlled it with his Adam's apple, just literally sidestepped David Luiz and just was like, I'm through, on goal, and then just sidestepped him. And once he's in front, as a defender, that is the worst thing to kind of know that is the case. And you see that there, where David Luiz's hand is on his shoulder, it's the worst place. Because if you put... Oh, he's red carded him as well. Oh,
red card.
I am surprised by that.
That's harsh.
Do you think that's soft, Jolien?
I think that's harsh. Because, again, he wasn't guaranteed to get the ball. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great shout. You are useful, Chris.
Good point,
you
Chris.
are useful.
I feel like we're building bridges finally, man.
Oh, yeah, that's harsh. That is harsh. But yeah, as I said,
okay, Jolien,
once he's pulled him back,
talk us through the penalty, Jolien.
Hand needs to be underneath. Kevin De Bruyne, I don't think there's any doubt. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt in that. The kind of stern face in the build-up, just ran up to it and just caressed it into the net again. No surprise that ends in a goal.
Oh, David Luiz! Oh my gosh, how bad
it's not good.
Your day
And I'm sure, is he not playing for an extension on his contract?
Yeah.
And
look how happy you are, though, Sam.
No,
Sam,
I genuinely feel
as a
so
nice
bad
guy, and look how happy you are.
No, I feel genuinely bad for him because I want him to do well, but that's poor. Yeah, that's a harsh red.
Yeah, it's a harsh red. It's definitely a foul, but it's a harsh red. I don't know how that goes.
It's disappointing. I mean,
pulled his shirt.
David Luiz didn't obviously start the game as well. He came on for a sub for the injured Pablo Mari, and now he has been red carded on 50 minutes. Man City now 2-0 up. Chris, I mean, what do you do now if you're Arteta? Is this just game over?
Probably disconnect, mate. That's what I do.
Then you've got no sound.
If I'm Mikel Arteta now, I think he's probably wondering. He's probably a bit puzzled himself, mate. I mean, do they really have the facilities to invite pressure and then hit Manchester City on the counter attack? Not so much. I think it's probably damage limitation from here. Jolien, what would you do here with your game management's going to be superior to mine?
Yeah, again, like you said, it's damage limitation. You kind of need to obviously rejig your thought and your methods now. And now I would bring on Lacazette. I think what Arsenal fans can never criticise him for is his work rate. And I think he's always kind of put he's kind of sacrificed some of his forward play for the team. But his hold up ability is good. Really good. So if Arsenal are going to tend to go more direct now, which is probably going to need to, he's got the capabilities to kind of hold up the ball and allow players to kind of join him. But also, he'll have that fear factor. In the greatest respect to Nikia, that Laporte and Garcia won't fear him getting the ball to his feet just because of the lack of games he's had, where if that's Lacazette, he demands a level of respect because he's got the kind of ability, and now we see Mustafi going down. This could be
another injury.
Oh no!
At his centre half as well.
Mari goes
could
off
be coming out
injured.
of
David
retirement.
Luiz's replacement sent off. Oh, this is turning into a
I'm gonna have to
shocking
give Mikel a
afternoon
text
for
in the
Mikel
morning
Arteta.
and say, "Listen, Mikel, I can put the boots
Hey,
on.
do you want me,
I
bro?
can put them on. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been training and that. I'm nice.
Love that. God, the action is flying
Oh,
around at the Etihad. Man City 2-0 up. If you're joining us for the first time, a reminder to subscribe to Football Daily and Soccer AM. I mean, Oba, what are the fans making of this mayhem?
There is it's absolute anarchy. I can't lie. In the comments, everyone's going crazy, and some Arsenal players, some Arsenal fans are saying that they predicted this. David Luiz shouldn't have been in the team. They would have preferred a keeper play.
No respect. No respect. Social. Listen, you can't go on social for your answers for that. They got no respect. I know. I'm on the brunt of it many a time.
No, that is mad. He must feel terrible right now. Like,
yeah,
because he's
well,
probably
David,
the most.
to be honest, though,
Centre-back in the team.
Yeah, but he's not. You kind of get the assumption that if he's not starting mentally, he's not prepared to play. To bring him on, does this surprise you? This wouldn't surprise you in the greatest respect. As I said, we spoke about him before, and I got a lot of respect for what he's achieved in the game. Them mistakes wouldn't surprise you if he's starting. So if he's coming on, anything can happen. Anything.
Yeah. Julian, I'm interested from a playing perspective. What's it like, the sort of immediate feeling when you give away a penalty, or when you're sent off as well?
Sent off. I was only sent off twice, I think, and that was early in my first 2 seasons. I didn't get sent off.
That's a great record.
That was kind of something. Yeah,
That's
something I kind of. Yeah, and my disciplinary record was pretty good. I've probably got.
How many times should you have been sent off,
though? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe more than twice. Let's say that. But no, in regards to, I think I give away 4 penalties. I think, if that. I don't even know, but yeah, it's not nice at all. You just know, and there was times when you know it's a pen, and times when you know it's not, and. Even whatever the scenario was, I was never one to kind of argue because he wasn't going to change his mind. So I just thought, why am I wasting my time trying to convince the referee that he's wrong, and he's not going to say, yeah, you know what, mate, I was wrong there. Let me just reverse that decision.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely devastating. I can't really even imagine what it's like. Chris, this game is pretty much done and dusted for Man City. And their Premier League campaign's pretty much done and dusted as well. But do you think they've got a good chance of going all the way in the Champions League?
I mean, given they can focus on that, yeah, sure, it might help them prepare mentally. And obviously, having beaten Real Madrid, you'd be unwise to bet against them. And of course, they've got home advantage in the next leg as well, haven't they? So you'd like to think...
they haven't, Chris. It's in Lisbon, mate. It's one leg.
Well, that's it's not the round of 16 yet, is it? Oh, of course, that came out today, didn't it?
Yeah, it came out today.
The 2 games, sorry to clarify, the 2 games that are left over that haven't been played, are they being played in Lisbon?
No. Obviously, the second leg is at Etihad. So if they go through that, then I think the next round...
Listen, I can barely connect. Don't toy with me like that, Jolien. Why have you got to be like that?
Was about? I didn't think it was so stiff and so strict. I thought we jumped on each other when we made it.
Well, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not in a joking mood, to be perfectly honest.
He's a pranks man. You've got to catch up
as well. You know what I mean?
I can do it anytime.
No, I've been
32 minutes late.
Listen, I've got to take these licks. I deserve it. Rolling up half an hour late, but absolutely Manchester City
minutes.
Champions League. 32 minutes. But I've said Barcelona since sort of day one, Doogie. So Lionel Messi, his powers are waning a little bit. I think it's going to be his year. Hasn't won it since 2015. So
yeah, I mean, I think we'd all love to see Messi win another one at some stage. Jolien, how big an impact do you think Man City's potential Champions League ban will have on their summer? And do you think that will go through?
I'm hoping it doesn't go through. I know obviously they're appealing it. I don't know what it's based on, actual case or the kind of appeal, but nobody wants to see that, especially if they win. If they go on and win the competition this year and then evidently get banned from next year. That's just crazy. So they're going to be, you know what I mean? It'd just be odd to see.
Jolien, do you think if they won it, their star players would stay as a result, having secured that trophy in their cabinet?
I don't know. I don't think that impacts the decision of them players. I think the length of ban, if there's a ban and it's 2 years, that's a different decision to make, because Raheem is 25, 27, he can stay, and it's no different. Like Kevin De Bruyne is 27, so it's a different decision for him to make, you know what I mean? So Sergio Aguero is 31, he's got 1 year left.
He's the big one, right?
How does that look to him, having potentially missed the Champions League, even if it's a 1 year ban for him? But I think the length of time is more important than the actual kind of winning it this season. But also, as them players will know, like going into next season with the quick turnaround and the format it's going to be in, not being in it next season isn't kind of that bad if you look at the overall picture of there being a European Championships next season. I think you're not going to have any midweek games. You're going to be fresher than most, and players definitely want, as much as they want to play Champions League, when there's a tournament year, they want to be as fresh as possible going into that tournament.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about
perspective. That. Yeah, one I hadn't thought of either. Jolien, you obviously work for Man City at the moment. Have you heard any sort of, what's the mood like as far as this appeal goes? Are they quite confident?
I think on a whole, Man City as a club, yeah. But again, you just don't know. Did they see it coming? No. So there was no kind of reason to not be content with the current climate of the club. But as players, they won't be dwelling on it. You don't let them things interfere with you when you're going onto the pitch. You're just kind of thinking, well, I need to perform. Because let's say worst case scenario, there's 4 players that want to leave. They still have to perform in order to get that move they want to secure. So there's not going to be any kind of people thinking, well, I'm down tools in now. I'm not going to kind of give 100% because I'm looking to leave. That's a good opportunity there. So it won't impact the players and their kind of application to the game.
Fascinating. Oba, what are the comments making as we approach about 30 minutes to go?
Let me just check that up because I've got a few tabs open. The comments are still going crazy. Talking about other teams now, I think they're a bit bored of this game. They're saying Liverpool is a fantastic team. Yeah, we know that. Arsenal should be in the Championship. That's harsh. Very harsh.
That's what I'm saying. The internet is unforgiving.
Trolls.
That is very harsh. How hard is it to avoid the internet as a player? Because I know if I was playing, I would be onto every single person that's getting onto me.
I don't think it's like avoiding it now is not a possibility, because it's impacted everyone's life, good or bad, indifferent. And this generation of people, like, you're obviously all a lot younger than me, even though some of you don't look it. Like, you're used to having.
Is that a dig at me?
I don't know. I'm not naming names.
You just Jolien.
You know who you are.
That's cheered me up.
They know who they are, Sam. They know who they are.
That is brilliant. I'm getting abused by Jolien Lescott.
This generation obviously are used to having social media, and so it won't they won't feel the need to kind of avoid it. It's just how you let it affect you. Like, I was never one that let it affect me. I didn't need the praise from fans, even though it's nice to have. I was my biggest critic. So seeing them things, and they would probably encourage me to try harder and do more, was seeing that, because what fans and people don't realise on these platforms is that majority of players are just fans that are lucky enough to have made it. That's all it is. They're not any better. They don't think they're any better than you. We were just lucky enough to kind of fulfill our dream and the dream of everyone. So they need to understand that a bit as well.
Were you quite headstrong though? Because obviously you won a player of the season at Wolves, at Everton, man of the match in your debut at Everton. Like, it seemed like you weren't fazed by the big occasion or having, additional pressures, external pressures. The big fee at Manchester City, £22 million. Did you sort of get a bit of a kick out of that?
Yeah and no. I never well done any of them things. As I said before, I was my biggest critic, and I believe that if I performed to my maximum, I would be able to compete whoever I was playing against. Obviously, not to the level of Messi and Ronaldo, but to the people I was facing at the particular time. Obviously, at Wolves and Championship, and then going to Everton. Them things were just challenges that I embraced and I loved. Like, as a defender, for me, being one-on-one was the best thing. Like, I hated to play fullback, but playing fullback meant I get to be 1v1 more of the time. So that was probably the best aspect of that. So there were the things I looked at and just enjoyed to do.
Didn't you score 10 goals from fullback though? You were prolific in the 2007-8 season, weren't you?
Yeah, there was a lot of goals, as I said, and that was a strange thing. And again, I got to give Glenn Hoddle some credit for that as well. I don't know if any of you have seen this kind of answer where he randomly made me do finishing sessions on my own. So he would take me after training and
that is very random.
Made me do. And I was just like,
were you the only one that could speak?
I was the only one doing it. I was the only one. It was just me, him, and another coach, and he would be doing crossing and finishing. I'd be thinking, why am I doing finishing? And he used to say, you get in a lot of opportunities, you get in a lot of positions to score goals, and you don't score enough. And I literally did that my last year at Wolves. Went to Everton, and then my second season, I've scored 10 goals, and it wasn't until I looked back and thought, you know what, he was right. Like, them things, so, he was able to see them things.
You know, originally when David Moyes shifts you out to left back to make way for Yobo and Jagielka, are you livid at that point because you're not playing your natural position?
Fuming. Every week, I used to go and see David Moyes once a week about it, and I knew to the point of when it was happening that often, he stopped naming the team because he knew if he named it and I was left back, I would go and see him.
So it wasn't about the press.
So he wouldn't name the team, and then I couldn't go and see. What could I go see him about if he hasn't named the team? You know what I mean? So we get to the game, we'd name the team like before the day before, so we'd go sit pieces and that, and then what we would do, and then he wasn't naming the team, so then I couldn't go and see him. So then we'd come up on a match day, and I'd be left back, and he knew, and I knew I wasn't gonna not give 100%. He knew that, I knew that, so we just kind of just got on an agreement where that was the thing. I won't name the team. I won't kind of tell you're playing there, but I know you know you're going to play there, and when you do play there, I know you're going to give 100%.
So funny.
Yeah, crazy. And the worst thing is, when that was happening as well, we had two left backs at the club, Nuno Valente and Gary Naismith. So I wasn't even able to go in the position in training because we had
the Scottish
people playing their position. So I was literally just playing as a centre half all week, and then we'd come to the just be left back.
I mean, what did
just take their place for the weekend?
Yeah, I was going to say, what did the left backs do?
No, they were fine. As I said, we got a great relationship with both of them, and they had a great understanding. They knew kind of what it was, and everyone knew. But as I said, because I had ambitions of playing for England, and like I said before, Ashley Cole was the most consistent player for England, and for me, arguably one of the best left backs ever. They're definitely the best English left back, and probably one of the best left backs in the world in terms of consistently.
World, yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? So for me to dislodge him, and even though John Terry and Rio Ferdinand were up there as two of the greats, they were in my position as well. So I felt it was going to be easier to dislodge someone that's in my position, having played there and having experience there, than it was to dislodge the best at his position over a 10-year spell.
Interesting. We're just seeing a triple change from Mikel Arteta. Sorry, Chris. Lacazette is coming on. Lescott's got his wish. Reece Nelson and Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well has come on for Guendouzi. So all change in this Arsenal. I was about to say 11. It's, of course, 10 in the final 23 minutes or so. Jolyon, I wanted to ask you... As well. City have made a few changes as well.
Phil Foden and Bernardo.
Phil Foden, excellent. Jolyon, I wanted to ask you about a couple of questions about England, because you got 26 or so caps, I think. Obviously started in that Steve McLaren era, I think it was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he gave him a debut.
What did you make of playing for England? Obviously, we hear mixed reviews from players at that time of what it was like in camp. What did you experience?
I experienced all of that and none of that, if that makes sense. To get into the England squad was just a massive achievement. There was no kind of perception of how it should have been, how it was. It was just like, wow, I'm in the England squad and I was training and playing along some of the best English players we've ever produced. So kind of that achievement of it was remarkable. As you kind of, your profile rises and the scrutiny gets bigger, then you kind of feel there's a different kind of motive. And I don't feel as a nation we kind of embraced each other's players. I think we kind of wanted our players to do well, the teams we supported, if you know what I mean. Like, nobody wanted, like, if Chelsea fans didn't want Man United players to play well, or Steven Gerrard, because it was like a Lampard. We created a Lampard-Gerrard kind of competition within the squad. So it was like Chelsea fans want Lampard to do well, Liverpool fans want Gerrard to do well, you know what I mean? So I don't think the kind of perception and the atmosphere was great due to what media, what fans had created in that time. But I don't feel that now. I feel like there's a different type of unity now. I feel like everybody wants everyone to do well. And if you look at the kind of diversity, not in terms of ethnicity, in more so the teams they represent, like there's a lot more teams that are represented in England now, which wasn't the case in the past. Like, I think when I broke into the squad with Micah and Ashley Young, we were at Everton, Man City, but not the Man City have you seen now, and Aston Villa, who were like 5th, 6th, 7th, which is obviously a great achievement, but it wasn't like, the majority of the squad was the top 3 teams: Chelsea, Man United and Liverpool. And that was kind of it, where I think now there's a lot more diversity, so a lot more players can kind of adapt, and there's a lot more unity in that group.
Did you find it difficult, therefore, to sort of break into the group almost sort of at a dressing room level, sort of socially, if they sort of knew each other from their clubs?
Not necessarily, because you tend to bond with who's into similar things as yourself, but also, like I said, them 2 names, Ashley Young and Michael Richards, we kind of got into the squad at a similar time, so we just had a bond just for that. Like, obviously we didn't represent the top teams, we represent teams of a similar kind of ilk, but also because of coming in at the same time, we just managed to get on. And obviously I'll go to Man City and became closer to Micah, so that was just an easy fit. But no one made me feel uncomfortable. There was no players that kind of made me think, I don't want to be here. I never looked to pull out of a squad. I always wanted to represent, just being there, knowing I wasn't going to play, because again, I miss understanding of fans and people around the game. Like, you don't understand what timing is. Timing is huge for every player. Like, for me, if I'm honest, my timing as a centre half was probably the worst. Like, if you look back at this season for years, and the 5 best centre halves, arguably for England, there was some other great centre halves, but Bobby Moore, Tony Adams, Sol Campbell, Rio Ferdinand, and John Terry. And when I first broke in, Sol Campbell, Rio Ferdinand, and John Terry were the centre halves. You know what I mean? So I'm having to compete with them, some of the best English centre halves. You know what I mean? So the timing of that, like, if you are right back now, it's the worst time to be a right back. Like, you got Trent, Trippier, Walker. You know what I mean? There's like, you just wouldn't want to be a finger where, again, when I was playing, left back was the worst. Ashley Cole didn't miss a game. He's like, his first 100 games for England was starts. Like, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Them things don't happen. So timing is everything, and people don't understand that and misinterpret that as well.
Chris, I was going to ask you, obviously it's kind of redundant now with the Euros not happening at the moment, but do you think the delay till 2021 could actually work in England's favour while we're on the topic of the national team?
I mean, instantly Harry Kane's availability springs to mind, doesn't it? He's talismanic for England. His goal scoring record is is fantastic. And I think, had he been at the Euros, it would have felt like another case where he was rushed back. And that happened to Wayne Rooney a few times, didn't it, to no avail. So if it means that we get another couple of players sort of in their pomp, then yeah, but it's very hard to look at that as a whole and make an assessment as to whether England is going to benefit England and not other nations. For example, Germany might have had, Leroy Sané might not have played, and he might be really influential at the next tournament. But yeah, I feel. I mean, with England, there's people coming through. That's interesting, isn't it? Will they take the position of some people that might have played this summer? Jack Grealish, Joe Gomez, multiple
Maddison
players.
cements himself. Yeah.
James Maddison, So
yeah, Foden. There's a lot of opportunity there for younger players. But touched on Chris's point there, like Germany, having looked and really looking at their squad. I know we've got bags of talent in England and the Premier League, and I do think at times we are kind of tunnel vision in terms of what we see and think of our nation. But Germany's setup is ridiculous. Like their front six, like their front three could be Sané, Gnabry, and Timo Werner. Their midfield could be Goretzka, Kimmich, and Havertz. Like that's arguably as good as any era they've had. Not just current, like any era they've had, they kind of could be as important as that. And the likes of France, like Mbappe, for me is the next to the heir to the throne. You know what I mean? So we need to kind of open our eyes to that as a nation and recognise, we have loads of talent, and it could be great for us, but it could be even better for other nations as well, having the same period to kind of prepare.
Yeah. I mean, Serge Gnabry, where has he come from in terms of the impact he's made at an international level? He's scoring a goal a game. So there's obviously people like that would have loved to have taken that form into the summer, right? Like there's some people hitting ridiculous numbers. But I think you can only judge that closer to the time, really, mate, just to round off your question.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the fact that, Joachim Löw effectively retired Thomas Müller, and he's been the top assist provider in the whole of Europe, just shows all about their strength in depth. But we've got about 15 minutes left of this game. It's sort of meandering somewhat since David Luiz was sent off. Man City pretty comfortable at 2-0 up. Oba, what are the comments making of the second half?
Okay, cool. They're just going crazy as usual. Obviously, the game's kind of sealed, so they've started the same random things. I've got a question though from Twitter, and this question is for Jovian, and it says, "When did you start DJing and why?"
Started DJing when I was 16, back at Mum's. Had turntables then as well. It wasn't CDJs like it is now. It was turntables with
CDs in it.
You know what I mean? Nah, it wasn't even CDs. It was like vinyl, man. 24-inch vinyl. That's what it was like. The garage days, when the garage era was like prime time, when that's kind of what I listened to anyway. Again, a lot of you are younger than me, but that was when it started. I kind of then neglected it for a long period of time. I wasn't like a DJ at that age. I just did it for a hobby in my mum's. Moved out, did it for a couple of years, but not long enough, and then neglected it until probably 5-6 years ago. Obviously then transformed to like CDJs, but love it. My dad is a DJ, so I'm not saying if that has played a part, but having carried the crates of records back in the day to the venues that he performed at, and we don't do the same level of music. It was like he did soca. Oh, lucky. That's an inventive free kick there.
Clever, wasn't it?
Nice.
That was very easy.
I was just thinking, Raheem Sterling's never taken a free kick from that distance in his life.
Yeah, I know. And the way he was kind of pushing someone out the way there, inventive, different. But in regards to the DJ, go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, a follow-up question, obviously, because I saw something along the lines of when a player scores, they get to choose the type of song that the song that plays when they score. So if it was you banged in, what song would you play?
I don't know. That's a new one to me. I didn't know players do that. What gets me gassed? Oh, there's a few of them. for different reasons. Depends on what we were doing after the game. It would, you know what I mean? If I know I'm going out, there's a different kind of tune. One tune that gets you gassed. I don't think they would be able to play at the stadiums. I don't think it would be age appropriate.
Bare
Too much swearing. Yeah, just be like, and the polite versions of them songs ain't fun, are they? So they don't get you gassed.
Just touching on what you said there, Jody, the culture at the various clubs you were at. So how did it differ from Wolves to Everton to Manchester City? Because when I listened to that interview that I mentioned before by Lee Naylor, he said it's a bit more relaxed at Wolves than it was later on in his career. Did you see the kind of that professionalism just rise kind of year on year?
Yeah, definitely it got more intense. But that was a big thing for me to achieve what I achieved and to get the maximum out of myself. I knew that had to be consistent, the professionalism. So didn't really change my style. I think the biggest change was probably the generations. As I'm getting older, obviously these younger players coming through that have different views, and like I was when I first come through, and the older players said that, and it's just different. And I think I was able to kind of understand that more so than the older generations were. Like, this is how old I am. I remember when the iPods come out, you know what I mean? Like, and you wasn't allowed, like, it was deemed bad to wear just normal earphones like this, to wear them off the coach into the changing rooms was deemed like the awful sin. Like, you shouldn't do that. That was, you know what I mean? But now lads are just like the bows and all that stuff. So, but again, having done that and knowing what that did, like, it didn't affect me. I didn't let me judge a person off what they did to prepare for a game. Like, I know lads at City, especially, that were just relaxed in what they did. Oh, wow, flattered. Absolutely, that's welcome.
God.
Welcome, Eric Garcia.
That looks so painful.
Him. And
So
Edison
there's
just
a long
walked
ball
away,
played
like
over.
a soldier.
Yeah, here we go.
There was a long ball played over the top. We need to see the replay, but Edison came charging off his line, past his 18-yard box, and absolutely clattered into Eric Garcia. We're waiting to see how serious this is, because players have sort of crowded him. The stretcher is on. There's not been a lot of movement. So quite worrying scenes at the Etihad in terms of Eric Garcia's potential state.
I mean, Jolien looks like he's moving there.
I mean, that's good news. I mean, Jolien, I mean, that looked like a painful one.
Yeah, them things happen, and as a defender, you encourage your goalkeeper to make that decision, and that's the saying in football: clean everything up if you're coming at your box. So Eric Garcia will be used to that, but it's never nice to be on this receiving end. Good to see he's actually moving there. So hopefully that. But this is what the situation where they probably haven't thought of in terms of the social distancing. Obviously, we've gone through the protocols, but when someone gets injured like that, how do you then prevent players from stepping in, possibly putting him in the recovery position if he's...
Ooh. So we're just saying it was actually a goal kick from Leno over the top, and Edison, just as I said, came clean out and hit Garcia pretty hard in the sort of chest head area. But as Jolien rightly said, he was moving. Sorry,
is there any way that you can kind of anticipate or like gear up for a challenge from your keeper like that? Because I know that is my biggest worry when I'm playing at the back, my keeper clearing me out.
When are you at the back?
Yeah, like to say, I don't know how tall you are, but you don't look like the kind of frame that should be at the back. You don't look like that kind of frame.
Right back,
no,
CDM.
In regards to that, you can't prepare for that, and it's even that. Then you looked, and Eric Garcia is not looking at the keeper because he shouldn't be. He's looking at obviously the ball flight and stuff. And even when he falls, you can't just. Normally, when you fall or something coming at you, you can protect yourself with your hands and cover up. Where he's just hitting flush on there, and he's actually when he hit the floor, he looked like his hands were raised as if he was out. So let's just hope it's not too bad for him.
Yeah, it looks like a nasty one. We're seeing images of Pep Guardiola giving Rodri, it looks like, some pretty big instructions there. Chris, on a separate note from injuries and DJing and the like, if you were Pep Guardiola this summer and the Champions League ban doesn't happen, what areas of the squad would you be looking to strengthen?
I mean, centre half has been an issue for a long time. As Laporte missed 3 games prior to this match with a hamstring injury, and he doesn't quite seem able to shake them. You know, as much of a fan of him as I am. He's one of the best centre halves in the world when he's fit, but that's kind of becoming he's becoming increasingly unreliant in that regard. So I think he probably will be in the market for a centre half. Gabriel Jesus will probably pick up more minutes next term. I'm thinking this might be the last season where Sergio Aguero is first choice number 9. I think Jesus has been patient and he deserves it. Like his output on a pitch, I think deserves it. It warrants more minutes, and he is kind of the future. So I don't, it's going to be tough. I don't know how they're going to be diplomatic. They'll have to be diplomatic with that even. So probably not a centre forward. But yeah, centre half is a priority. And, you know, if they send, the name escapes me, Doogie, the right back they bought from Juventus.
Oh, João Cancelo.
João Cancelo, I mean, he's been a bit part player this term. If rumours are led to be believed, I mean, he's been offered as as a make weight in 2 or 3 deals. If that does happen, then potentially a right back also to kind of challenge Kyle Walker into his early 30s as well. But they're not massively off Liverpool, are they? I think they've been a little bit unfortunate in that regard to be 25 points behind. But where do you want to see them strengthen, Jolien, as someone that works inside the club?
Yeah, I think you've touched it there. In regards to centre half, losing someone of Vinny's stature is massive. So to kind of replace him, I don't know if they can replace him. I don't know how easy that is to kind of just go and buy a replacement. You just don't do that.
Sorry to interrupt, but do you think that actually, this just thought sprung to mind, replacing Fernandinho is going to be the biggest issue because he's just been consistently brilliant for so long? Like he's probably been the Premier League's most underrated player in the last 5 years, I'd say.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that point. I think Sergio Aguero is the most difficult. You don't get someone that scores that number of goals. And just to touch on that point when you made about Jesus, Jesus is obviously the future. But as long as Sergio is at the club, he's the number 1 striker. He scores the goals. Jesus, in terms of what he brings to the team, yes. I'll go back to my earlier point of that fear factor. You have to respect Jesus for what he's done and what he can do and his ability, but you don't fear Jesus the way you would fear Sergio, knowing Sergio wants to score, where Jesus, for me, wants City to win. And there's a difference between the two. And for me, in a City team, City are going to create multiple chances. And if they've got someone with that Sergio hunger that only wants to score, that's a different kind of threat. That's a different animal. I think if as he gets older, Jesus, he'll develop that selfishness in a good way to kind of want to score. I know he does want to score, and I don't want to downplay that aspect of it, but I think he's willing to sacrifice parts of his game in order for the better of the team, where Sergio not necessarily willing to do that because he knows he trusts his team to kind of do their job and he'll do his job.
Yeah. In case you're wondering why we haven't talked about the game for a little while, or you've just joined us, that's obviously because Eric Garcia is still down injured. They are preparing to stretcher him off after a collision with his own goalkeeper Edison after a goal kick from Bernd Leno. Lots of the players looking pretty devastated, moving around pretty gingerly around him. Obviously, that's going to have a massive psychological impact to see such a horrible injury. You imagine both sets of players will probably just want this game to finish now. Jolien, we saw just a few minutes ago Phil Foden on our screens. With David Silva departing this summer, do you think this is the opportunity he's been waiting for to become a first-choice player?
Yeah, I hope so. I think everyone hopes that, not just City fans. We all hope. We want to see young English talent come through and perform. Phil Foden's obviously been patient in that aspect of it, and there's a lot of talk of should he get more minutes and should he play. And I'm like, is David Silva playing that badly enough for him not to play? And that's the kind of way I would judge it, of saying if there's a time where David Silva, he may not hit the heights he's done previously, but he's not playing bad. If Phil Foden went into the team now and played the level of David's playing, we would say we'd be in awe. You know what I mean? So we've got to respect that aspect of it. But like I said before, timing is everything. I think if Phil Foden comes, not last season, the season before, when we didn't have Bernardo Silva, I think he's the heir to the throne. I think he gets a lot more minutes, where he's a year too young at the time when we bought when we bought Bernardo Silva. So now he's in the squad, and he came in and obviously hit the ground running, and he's at an age where, what is he, 24, 23, 24. So he's got another 8 years ahead of him to perform, and he's proved that he can be a match winner against any team.
Yeah, for sure. It's a massive opportunity for Phil Foden, and Bernardo Silva as well, as you say, has had a great impact on this Man City team. We're just seeing Eric Garcia's finally left the pitch on his stretcher. Everyone at Football Daily and Sky wishes him a speedy recovery. That was a really nasty collision. There's about 2 minutes left of normal time, but we imagine there'll be quite a long period of injury time coming up. Oba, what are the comments saying at the moment?
A lot about David Luiz, saying he belongs in the Championship. He doesn't belong at Arsenal. Who would pick him? Why is he a gunner? A lot of David Luiz abuse. I would suggest he doesn't go on the internet tonight. But I've got another question for Julian, and it says, do you think Pep is the best manager City has ever had?
Ooh. I don't know. I never worked with him, but he's got to be up there in the conversation. I think he's had the biggest impact. I do feel even before he arrived, the Premier League, the club were preparing for him to come and have this impact. He's came and he delivered, and I do think he'll have the biggest legacy to kind of, when he does leave. I think he'll leave the longest lasting legacy to kind of how City look and how they're viewed, especially if he wins the Champions League. I don't think he has to win that to leave a legacy. I think it will enhance it if he does, but it's not a necessity. But you have to give respect to... Go on.
Can I ask you about what was the transition like from Mark Hughes to Mancini?
That's what I was going to say then. I think you have to give respect to them too. I think the brunt that Mark Hughes took in regards to getting us assembling the squad, obviously being associated with Man United, and then obviously going to bat for me, for a lot of players to get us to Man City. So I don't know if anyone probably didn't realise, the club, the fans realised the level of respect we had for Mark Hughes for that, and given time, we would have kind of went to war for him, regardless of any scenario. And then obviously Mancini comes in, and the transition was probably what we needed, because under Mark Hughes, we were still finding what our team was based on. And at that time, we were based on outscoring opposition, which is obviously pivotal in winning games. But when Mancini came, we went to a defensive team. And because we knew we had the qualities of Carlos Tevez, great ball. Here we go.
It's in the post.
Sergio.
Go!
That's what I'm saying. No, this is the point. Let me make the point I've made before. Look at Sergio's reaction after Phil Foden scores.
He's gutted.
He's gutted. He's absolutely gutted. He just wants to score goals, and which is not a fantasy thing for him.
As a fantasy football managers around the land, I think a lot would have captained Aguero for this double.
I needed that goal.
It's Phil Foden who gets the goal. Talk us through it, Jolien.
Yeah, great play. Obviously, great build-up. Sergio, which is not what we've come used to, sitting up, putting... Great pass from Sterling, though. Great ball. And then Sergio hits the target. Great save again from Leno. And then Phil Foden's where he should be to fill in the rebounds. And he has had a very good impact since he's just come on the scene. He scores goals, he impacts games, and he knows where to be at the right time. But the surprising factor of that was when Sergio misses. That's the only surprising factor to that.
Yeah, one-on-one with the keeper, you put your mortgage on that. But yeah, about 9 minutes left of this game, and Man City are 3-0 up, cutting that deficit to 22 points before Liverpool play Everton this weekend in the Merseyside derby. Jolien, what did you make of playing in the Merseyside derby? How does it compare to a Manchester derby, say?
Again, I kind of use the same answer for this. It's impossible to compare because I can't honestly say that the Manchester derby means more to City United fans than the Merseyside derby does to Liverpool and Everton fans. Like, that is your game. Where whoever you support, your derby is your derby. So, yeah, the games in regards to Man City, Man United were bigger because we were challenging both for the title. So that obviously the outcome of the game was bigger, but what it meant to what the occasion actually meant was it'd be disrespectful to compare. And even to go back to Wolves, West Brom, like that derby is everything to them set of fans. So you can't compare derbies.
Fair enough. I mean, Jolien, I was reading in the last couple of days about, you had some phenomenal success in games versus United for City. I think you were playing and scored in that 6-1, didn't you?
Well, I got an assist. In that 6-1.
Sorry.
Yeah, we that occasion there was crazy, and it was like, even now, like when you look back and think we won the league on goal difference, and it was due to us winning 6-1. Like, if we win that game 3-1, we don't win the league. You know what I mean? That's how important that 6-1 was, and a lot of City fans don't, but a lot of people don't realise 6-1 was massive. It was a huge part of us winning the league, and we didn't set out to do that. And obviously, I think it's still the record for the biggest Old Trafford win for an away team, which is great to be a part of. But we believed, and I think it was that season we played pre-season, and then we'd played some good teams. We played like Inter Milan, who were, I think they was like a treble winning squad, and we'd won every game. So we were going into that season like, yeah, we're going to be real contenders. We'd won the FA Cup the season before, and then we play Man United in the Charity Shield, and we go 2-0 up at half time. And we wasn't getting carried away. We just thought, this is how we perform. And the best thing that happened to us was that we lost that game 3-2. And then we knew, this is serious now. We're not where we want. Oh my God. Bernardo, unlucky.
Just saw an effort from Bernardo Silva flash past the post. Chance.
Yeah. So in regards to that, we will kind of recognise where we needed to be and what we needed to fine tune. And I think then we went on a run of like the first 16 games unbeaten to that season. So that was kind of a blessing in disguise. And the next time we faced them was at Old Trafford, and where we obviously demolished them.
Yeah. I mean, Jolien, we can't talk about that season without talking about the ending and that QPR result. Man United obviously getting a win against, a draw. What was it? A win against Sunderland, I think it was, but it wasn't enough.
Win against Sunderland, yeah.
I mean, what was that like to be involved in?
Horrible. I don't like watching the game. I don't enjoy that game to watch. Like, I don't know if any of you seen the kind of the flashback or the throwback game where me, Micah, and Vinny and Zaba all watched that game together on Sky. And none of us enjoyed it. Like, people just think it's me because I was part. Here we go, Sergio.
Go on.
He's not good.
Yeah.
He missed again.
Oh my God.
He's missed.
He's rusty. He's rusty. I'll put it down to rust.
Wow. Who saw that coming?
I can't believe that.
Jolien, talk us through this chance.
Yeah, who's that? Is it Phil Foden running through?
Foden, yeah.
And it just great way to pass. Sergio Aguero runs through and just slaps it wide. We've come so used to just seeing that ripple in the net.
That finish.
He doesn't catch it as clean as he normally does, but it's again
so shocked
as well. Top right as well.
He's been on what 10 minutes and he's had 2 chances. Like, Sergio Aguero, as long as he's at Man City, he's the number 1 striker. Facts.
We're just seeing it come up on screen now that Man City have had 19 attempts to Arsenal's 2, which is really pretty damning. And neither of those 2 efforts were on target. Man City have tested Leno 12 times. So if it wasn't for Leno making some phenomenal saves, particularly in the first half, this could have been an absolute cricket score.
Even in the build-up to Foden's goal, he made an unbelievable save from Sergio Aguero.
Yeah.
Unbelievable save. We didn't even speak about Chris, with his ankle.
Chris, what do you think we've learned about where both teams are from this game? I know it's difficult to say.
That Man City are really good. That my connection and Arsenal's defence is really bad. No, I think David Luiz probably won't get many more opportunities because it's hard to shake that sort of narrative, isn't it? That he's costing them at vital moments. Like, that's that story bias is hard to break, man. I'd be very surprised if he gets many more opportunities, especially with Saliba coming in next season. I feel like they might just write it off, give some minutes to Chambers when he gets back to fitness. Who knows? But I mean, before the break, Arsenal had definitely got better. They were definitely more coherent under Arteta. There's a lot more to come from the likes of Kieran Tierney. Hector Bellerin still has to get back to full fitness. Like their fullbacks were. Oh,
here we go.
They're in here. Hello.
Decision making.
Oh,
Were a large part of the game, weren't they? And Saka was playing really well. So they've got one of the youngest squads in the Premier League. I think the average age is around 26. I think it's bottom 5. So I know they've been rebuilding for about 10 years now, and that is something they keep trotting out. But if they can keep hold of that youth, and if Arteta can really, if he's given time to imprint whatever vision is permeating that bonds, then I think there'll be a Champions League side again under his stewardship. But title contenders, they are so far away. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Chris, you mentioned
I don't
Kieran.
even know about top 4.
Yeah,
really.
Maybe the next couple of years, mate. That's me
how
being
many
generous.
teams is that now? Is that 7 teams that are top 4?
Yeah, you think that
there's 7 realistic teams now every season?
Leicester's status as a Champions League club hangs on a knife's edge, doesn't it? Jamie Vardy, they are very dependent on Jamie Vardy. So, and Chelsea are spending big. Like Timo Werner's a big statement.
So there's only
that means they're going to stay there.
There's only 2 spaces really available. City and Liverpool are always going to be Champions League. So then there's 2 spaces available, and there's Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, United. Arsenal,
Wolves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do Arsenal demand any more kind of prowess to make the Champions League than Wolves do?
No, but I think at the start of the season, level of the other teams, it's quite forgiving at the moment, isn't it? Like there's 2 outstanding teams, but there's a lot of teams still figuring out who they are. Like Manchester United included, they've got a decent defence, and Paul Pogba's coming back, which could make all the difference. But like, how convinced are you by then that they're going to be a Champions League team nailed on in the next 2 or 3 years?
I'm more convinced than Arsenal. They've got a lot less to kind of. They've got a lot less, and that's the thing. We're not trying to compare them to the top teams. We're trying to say, well, if Arsenal say the least equipped to make Champions League, where do the other teams sit in that kind of pyramid? And Man United have a lot more in place than Arsenal do. A lot more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I don't think it's like unassailable. Do you know what I mean? Like I agree with you. I definitely agree, but I don't think it's unassailable.
I think Arsenal have got the most issues out of that top 5.
What if Aubameyang leaves? What about it then?
Yeah, I mean,
it depends who to bring in, I guess.
That would be a massive blow.
Who would want to come?
When you're bringing in players, what people misunderstand is that. Hello.
Hi, Jody.
We can still hear you.
Hello. Yeah. Sorry. I was going to say, like, Arsenal have got to understand whoever they are going for, that is not going to be the only club in for them. And why would you choose Arsenal over any other club? And that's the thing. That's where kind of, oh wow, what a turn! Bernardo Silva absolutely sat somebody down then.
That was
there we go. Full time at the Etihad. Man City have won 3-0 against Arsenal.
He's smiling.
Very confident display from them. The gap, at the top of the table is cut from 25 points to 22, and really it was a walk in the park for Man City. Goals from Sterling, De Bruyne, and Phil Foden on a follow-up from Sergio Aguero has given them 3 points in a match they completely dominated. Really, Jolien, from a Man City perspective, how pleased will Guardiola be?
Very pleased. Obviously, to win every game, any game, is pleasing for our manager and players. And I think the kind of rhythm they've showed is threatening for the rest of the Premier League. I think if you compare that to the earlier game, I think there's a bit tentative. I think the impact of fans played a part in their performances where I don't think that played a part in Man City's performance. I think, the rustiness showed for like the first 20 minutes, but after that, when Man City kind of found their rhythm, it was clean, it was consistent, and it was clinical.
Yeah, they certainly were. They got a lot of shots on target and tested Leno to the max. But let's have a look at the table. So the top, as we can see, the gap to Liverpool cut to 22 points. It's still most likely insurmountable, barring some freak results, but not the night Arsenal wanted either. They're still on 40 points, 8 points off fourth place Chelsea as it stands, with just 9 games to go. So not looking good for Arteta's men. I mean, Chris, how important was that sending off from David Luiz?
I don't know, mate, 'cause I missed the first half an hour, didn't I?
32 minutes.
I mean, I don't think they were going to... I think having lost to Manchester City in the last 6 fixtures in all competitions, they probably didn't harbour massive aspirations for getting a result on the road, right? I think they've also drawn the last 5-6 fixtures on the road. So I think only a very optimistic Arsenal fan would have wanted anything from this game, but they probably would have wanted to see a performance, a coherent performance, and what we got was not so, was it? That was just thrown together last minute, whatever we saw on that pitch there. Obviously against superior opposition, but yeah, there's not even a silver lining for me there. So bleak for Arsenal fans, to be honest.
No, I'm with you as well, particularly with those injuries to Mari and Xhaka and the sending off of Luiz. It's looking like a difficult run-in for Arteta. Sam, let's have one final question.
Okay, one final question. You threw me under the bus there a little bit after the questions aren't really coming in. However,
can I?
I'm gonna think.
Oh, go on.
I'm gonna think of one on the spot. Yeah. The question I'm going to ask everyone, is what team? I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what team you think needs to do the most in the summer transfer window?
Ooh, depending what again. Depends what aspirations the teams are like. Who's got the biggest transition? Are Man City trying to win the league Man United trying to win the league next season? Then they would probably have the most to do. But if they're trying to break into the top 4, then they don't. In terms of getting into the top 4, I would honestly look at Arsenal. Honestly look and think, where don't they need to strengthen, barring the goalkeeper? Like they could get 10 players, starters, and it wouldn't surprise you. You know what I mean? So I just don't think. I think they're the furthest away from where they need to be in order to get into the top 4.
Chris Doogie, what do you guys think?
Player-wise,
I was just thinking that, with Chelsea hopefully signing Werner, getting ZX through the door as well, I'd really like Man United to, at the end of this season, finish on a high, secure 4th, and go out and nail that right wing spot. And to be honest, I think the man they need to get pretty much at any cost is Jadon Sancho to take them to the new level. They get a defensive midfielder in as well. I think they'll be a lot closer to Liverpool and Man City. I don't think they'll be challenging for a title yet, but they'll really have, with Rashford, Pogba, Fernandes, Martial to build around, aside for the next 3 to 4, 5 years, that could challenge for the title. So United have a lot of work to do, I think, this summer. Chris, what do you reckon?
Chris?
I mean, Sancho would be a statement signing as well, wouldn't he? That would be a signal of intent. I agree. Manchester United haven't had an out-and-out right winger since Antonio Valencia. Like, they've needed to fill that position for years. And it is scary how far Arsenal are off, considering they spent X amount on Pepe and X amount on Aubameyang, and he's been good, the latter since coming in. Pepe was £70 million, but tactically under Arteta he struggles because he also doesn't want to be a disciplined winger in that 4-3-3. He wants to roam, he wants to touch the ball. For Lille, he pretty much got license to do what he wants along the front line, and Arteta's not going to give him that. Like we know that. Yeah, we know Guardiola. Not exactly.
He obviously scored the goals for Lille, and so
he's an absolute
earned the right to do that. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like Ronaldo earned the right to do that at United and Real Madrid. He didn't just do that. When you contribute that level, you earn the right to do that.
It must be hard for him to take, right? And I did want to use this my answer as an opportunity to ask you. Like, obviously, when you won the FA Cup, Jolien, that was a breakthrough moment for City.
Yeah.
And I was going to say that was the first bit of silverware in 35 years, right? So, Did you feel like that changed the mentality of the club? And can you see a Chelsea, for example, needing a League Cup win? I'm being pretty random here, but to give them that winning mentality.
That definitely changed our mentality and our beliefs. I remember seeing an interview from Tony Pulis, because we literally played them in the FA Cup and then we played them 3 days later in the league. We beat them 1-0 in the FA Cup and then 3-0 in the league. And he literally said after that game, these will be title contenders next season due to their physical presence and their ability. And that kind of made me realise that, now people are taking us serious. So that definitely has had a massive impact. In regards to Chelsea, I think for the personnel, it would help, because there's not a lot of personnel in that team that were part of the great Chelsea years in terms of winning trophies and title contenders. So I definitely think it would help personnel. But in terms of the club don't necessarily need to win a
refresh
smaller trophy
their mentality. I get that.
To kind of be like Chelsea are title contenders next season. Whether they want to be or not, they're going to be judged. This season, they kind of had a grace due to the circumstances of the transfer ban and Lampard's first season. That's not going to be the case next season. I think Lampard is aware of that, and I think Chelsea fans like that culture of winning there knows that is the realism of it. You know what I mean? They shouldn't. Next season, you want to see them win the title or want to see them challenge for the title. So there's no grace next season.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating discussion, as it has been all night, guys. We've got to call it a day there. I want to give a massive, massive thank you to Jolyon Lescott for joining us on the Football Social. Fantastic insight, fantastic stories. What a man. Thank you very much, Jolyon.
No
Thank
problem.
you very much
Thank
to
you,
Chris
guys.
Hamill for
Thanks
dropping
for
in when he could as well.
Oh, Virgin Media are getting a phone call after this, boys.
And Sam,
is that another plug there? Virgin. Is that another one?
And Sam Obaseki, you've been great value as ever. Don't forget to subscribe to Football Daily and Soccer AM. And here's a promo for our show on Friday. So obviously we've got Spurs versus Man United, 8 p.m, Soccer AM and Football Daily YouTube. It's another Football Social. It's going to be absolutely massive. We'll see you then.